Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Grapple Live here on the Grapple YouTube. I'm Benno. You might have seen my guest there on screen. Very professional start, as always, over there in Grapple. But yeah, good to see the chat busy. Good to see people knocking around here on this Wednesday night. Like I say, no spotlight this week. Still, obviously, JP still away. No update on that, unfortunately. A couple of people have asked, but still giving some JP some time away. But it allows me to jump on with these different lives. We had Michael Hamflett last week. I had Davey Portman on the weekend show last week, and obviously my guest tonight, Martin Bushby, will be joining me momentarily as well. Quick programming note to let the patrons know. I didn't know that it was going to be tomorrow when we arranged this live, but the Grapple Weekend show is actually tomorrow as well, with Gareth and Matty stepping in. I don't know what that's going to entail. I assume a Dynamite review. Is Matty going to watch Dynamite? I'm not sure. Is Gareth going to watch WWE programming to get them ready for the big Royal Rumble preview, which we'll leave to them. We'll talk a little bit of Royal Rumble tonight, but we'll let them go through the full odds and all of that stuff. I'll be expecting Andy Ogden to be in the chat there to give them the possible winners and losers as well. I don't expect those lads to. I have done a few notes for them on the weekend show, Doc. I don't think they know what it is, but I don't expect them to open it either. But should be fun, you know. Their dad's away, so I'll leave them two to play tomorrow. So you got that to look forward to, and obviously, yeah, our patrons well know on Sunday we'll be debuting a new concept, Raw Roulette. I believe it's the December 13th, 1993 episode of Monday Night Raw. The roulette wheel landed on during the show on Sunday. So yeah, you've got that to look forward to as well. If you haven't already, check out the Shimmer show we did with Chris Platt on Sunday too, where Matty and me learned a couple of things from Chris Platt as well. So plenty going on this week for everyone to keep an eye out for. And like I say, it's very busy in the chat. Good to see Platt in there himself. Good to see Andy and the other Andy. Everyone's called Andy. There's Chris Elliott's there as well. Ryan in the chat. Good to see Dave O'Neill there saying we could all be at Smallman's comedy show right now. Is it in Dublin, Dave? Because I'm actually headed to Dublin tomorrow. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for any potential old enemies that me and my guest tonight might have from those parts. Definitely won't be going to a wrestling show. Never mind at a comedy show tomorrow as well. Good to see Simon and Don Bell knocking around in the chat too. Yeah, Platt say he doesn't need to rush to watch Dynamite. Then I don't know. Matty might surprise you. He might get it in before the show tomorrow evening. But there we go. That should be fun to look forward to there, folks. But as I say, I'm going to be talking tonight with my guest. We've got plenty to get into. AJ Styles' potential retirement. We'll talk a little bit of Royal Rumble. We'll talk possibly WWE Counter and AEW All In. We'll also get his thoughts on the AEW product, as well as your questions. Throw them in. Super chats are welcome, as well as questions available on our Patreon and our Discord as well. But without further ado, joining me tonight is the former host of British Audio Wrestling and the British Wrestling Experience. And yes, of this parish at times, we will be having him on a show later on this month. We have the great Martin Bushby joining us. Hello, Martin.
Hello, Richard Benson, a.k.a. Benno. How's it going, mate? You all right?
Feels wrong me introducing you. Should be the other way around. Feels off. I couldn't believe it when you said to me, by the way, we did, this is a celebration this week. It's 9 years since we launched British Audio Wrestling. 10 years since I was at a Progress show in Camden and bumped into Joe and JP and started my love affair with Progress Wrestling that would last probably about 12 months, right up until the time me and you started podcasting. But yeah, come to a Wikipedia page that's out there, Martin. Yeah, exactly 9 years, mate. How does it feel?
I know. Well, it makes you feel old, doesn't it? Like as we'll be talking about later, AJ Styles retiring. Feels like 5 minutes ago I was watching him in TNA. But yeah, honestly, I mean, where does time go with this stuff? I feel like as soon as you hit 30, it's just like boom, 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 where everything was 9 or 10 years ago. But yeah, I was just thinking then when I was like, oh, I'll have to do the old Richard Benson, a.k.a. Benno. Do you remember the origins of that?
Was that me? Was that me wanting to be a professional and failing miserably? I'm pretty sure it was that. That's the whole history of B2B / British Audio Wrestling. Because like I remember obviously that like people don't know the first episode was yourself and Ollie, and I talked my way into the second episode and just never went away. Like you were saying off air there, you were looking into buying a new microphone, but you're officially retired from podcasting at this point. Martin. But I do remember going to I think it was a local PC World, dropping £100 on a Blue Yeti microphone because I felt the pressure to jump on a podcast with you two lads. I've only had one microphone upgrade in the last 10 years, and I think it is better this one. Camera's not gotten better, but the mic has gotten better. But yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember the other behind the scenes.
Oh, that was him. Yeah, I think I think you said to me, "Oh, I've had this nickname since I was like a kid or whatever," and I'm sick of this nickname now or whatever. But
10 years later.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, but thankfully, obviously, it's definitely. I think once you get a nickname, don't you, when you're a kid? I remember I went to school with this kid. We must have been about 7. He was slightly shorter than everyone else, and someone one day went, "Oh, Spodge, that's your name," and then I saw him a couple of years later with people who didn't even go to our fucking school who were calling him Spodge. And I was like, how's this the fucking nickname? You weren't even that much shorter than us. Yeah, exactly.
Peep show, innit?
We all love the Benno name, and I'm glad you've embraced it now rather than rejecting it.
Made me stick out. Like I say, I think that's what it was. It was like jumping on with you guys and wanting to be like a professional podcaster and wanting to impress John and Way. I just felt it looked wrong on the marquee. It was like Martin Bushby, Ollie Court, and Benno. I was like, how old am I? And there I am, 10 years older, and I'm still going by it as well. But yeah, we made it. We made it work. Obviously, somebody actually asked us on the Discord. It's a question for at the end. Where's Ollie Court? He's a stand-up comedian now, and follow him on Instagram. Ollie Court Jester, I think is the Instagram page for him there as well. But yeah, I always remember that because like that second episode you were doing, and I was supposed to be the guest. It was me being a diva. I was running late with the job that I don't work anymore. But needing to push the start time back, and I almost didn't make it in the end. I think there wasn't an original plan for you to go on without it. I remember possibly Ollie's significant other not being happy that I pushed the start time later, and then 8 years or whatever later, or to the end of the run of BW, you just got used to me making all the start times later. My professionalism shined through.
Well, I do not recall that, but yeah, we couldn't have done it without you, mate. It was obviously the three of us, and obviously Jamesy and Andy later on, and things. Once Ollie was the smart guy, weren't he? Getting out of Brit Rest before the rest of us. He took that year break, didn't he? Yeah,
before it was fashionable, before John Briley did it, he made the right call. Joe had the right idea as well when he did the runner. It was just quite funny because like I said before, you alluded to the Wikipedia page that exists for live audio wrestling, and there is an entry there that like chronicles kind of that history there. You did say to me in our chat who put that on there. It genuinely wasn't me, but I might have been the one that went in and edited it and said that I was Benno and I came from the indie corner and gave that little bit of background as well in there too, but. Yeah, it's how it all ends up. It's funny. Like at the time, like I was starting to obviously me, Joe, and JP had already had plans to do a British wrestling podcast, and I was pretty much doing 2 British wrestling podcasts for 3 or 4 years in the end until I eventually talked them out of doing British stuff. I feel like I missed out on that. Maybe talking you into doing a Moxley podcast earlier, or getting you to talk Metallica like you are with the lads coming up on the Patreon, mate. Maybe I don't know. I wouldn't say the wasted years, mate, but I think we got out at the right time.
It was almost a relief when you guys sort of like did start talking New Japan and everything, because there was a time period, weren't it, when we were trying to make the show slightly different. Oh well, we'll talk about this on BWE, and you guys can talk about that. And it was a big relief, and it was like, oh well, you guys are better suited to covering like the whole world of wrestling and stuff. Yeah, but I think we definitely we had some great times. Obviously, Ollie, fantastic. I still sort of talk to Ollie fairly regularly now, and his comedy career is going pretty well. I think he's been doing sort of like BBC radio and things, and then obviously hitting the circuit like you've got to do. I actually messaged him earlier today, and I said, "Oh, me and Benno doing this podcast." He was like, "Oh, I'll send you a voice note, Rob," but it doesn't look like he got round to it, which is a shame. But yeah, and then obviously Jamesy and Andy later on and everything, and it was just a great time. But we definitely got. Some would argue we might have carried it on a bit too long. I mean, some of the dregs we had to talk about at the end, I was like, oh my God, is anyone even listening to this? No one's even going to these fucking shows, Benno.
We weren't. That's why we got Andy on. We needed them. Like those last 6 months, like pretty much every month, Martin would be in my DMs go, you sure you want to carry on, Benno? Because I listened to Grapple this week, and you were just saying how sick you are talking about British wrestling. And honestly, compliments you. I just enjoyed doing the show. I like doing it with you and Andy.
That was the thing, weren't it? Yeah.
Whatsoever. I like being on post as well, obviously, and like being part of like the post family and stuff. It was always fun to like kind of at least offer something to that, and that was what we could offer, wasn't it? The British wrestling coverage. But by the end of it, it was just like me, you, and Andy having a chat, and Andy would tell us about the shows he went to. Me and you go, oh, it's crap in it, Brit Res, and then it kind of ran its course by what year was it? We stopped like 2021 maybe was the last year, something like that.
Yeah, something like 21 or 22. Yeah, so we were going to come back with some specials, and then we were like,
somebody asked that.
yeah.
I think we did one transfer window, didn't we? And then we didn't keep it going. But yeah, Andy's saying there the homework he had to do to cover Benno. Yep, pretty much. Andy was the super sub. I appreciate it, mate. I was like Salah playing for Liverpool, mate. You were Trent covering me behind me. me, and there we go. It worked as a 1-2, but no, great times, great days, and like I say,
I was
got some
actually
fun questions on that.
I was listening to some of the older stuff, yeah, and I remember that was it the first NXT UK takeover that was headlined by Joe Coffey more on him later and Pete Dunne, and like I remember the post forum were like, oh my god, who's this Joe guy? He's so negative, and like and it was a bad match, weren't it? And we were all me and you were kind of skirting around it, going, oh, well, we can see why people in the building might have enjoyed it and that, and Joe was just like, fucking boring, mate. It's terrible. Joe Coffey is not a wrestler I want to see main event in shows.
And as with most things, our Joe was proven right, and Joe Coffey was proven wrong. God, I remember the pelters we got on that. But like I say, we got some questions related to that, related to some memories of BWE and some of the things we covered, and some of the names and such that we covered as well. So we'll get into that at the end of the show. Like I say, if you have got any questions you want to add on to that for that, you know me, love a bit of navel gazing, throw it in there. But anything on topic with wrestling, off topic as well, we will take it in the YouTube comments too. But on that note, like I say, we've got you there, Martin. I was going to say in the plugs, I did neglect to mention we've just done a UK Rampage 92. That was another that was the reason I've been going through like that nostalgia period of looking back at BWE stuff. That was another show we reviewed over there. So yeah, there's been a few of those recently. Just did Canadian Stampede on Benno and Hamflet with Gareth and Matty, and literally, I don't know if you've heard, like 2 hours in, I go, you know what? I think I've reviewed this before, and it turned out me, you, Joe, and JP did it in the pandemic as well. So that's how old we are.
Did we?
Well,
I can't even remember that.
Shows.
Oh my god, it's age, mate. Memories are getting fucking fried here. I can't even remember. I remember we did a few WCW shows and that, but I don't remember doing Canadian Stampede. Wow.
We had a few flashbacks running there as well, and you knew, so especially with the UK Rampage one, you knew it was dated when I listened to the intro, and as James is saying, in early 2020. We're just getting through the pandemic. It's we're through the worst of it now, and we're all moving on with our lives. But yeah, there's definitely been some double dipping going on lately. But yeah, listen to the versions on Grapple, and then go back in time and listen to the versions with me and Martin. But yeah, speaking of it, moving forward in time, like a few discussion topics to get into today, and one of the big ones for me was obviously we did an AJ Styles show on the Patreon as well, and I know you're a big fan of him. It is the 10-year anniversary of him joining WWE as well. I did fire over the little YouTube video that is on the I think it's on the proper WWE channel, not the Vault channel. It goes through the backstage maneuverings of it and keeping him a surprise and him coming out, and obviously everyone remembers him going back and forth with Roman Reigns and looking about 3 foot tall and 100 pounds soaking wet. He would put some of that muscle back on. It was a bit of a juxtaposition, to be honest, looking at that footage from 10 years ago and then looking at what he looks like in current day WWE. But I'll lead off with him, Martin, as I have used it as the banner image. I didn't mean to. I did get a comment from someone going, you're indicating that he'd go into AEW, and I wasn't, but now I will. I'll take anything as a YouTuber who likes a bit of clickbait. Will AJ Styles go to AEW once he leaves WWE? That might be the title now. Actually, to be honest, the more I sit on it, maybe that's a theory we could go with that I'm starting to believe is true. Maybe it is all a work. Maybe he's really retiring from WWE. He's really going to be tying things up at the Royal Rumble at the end of the month, and then there you go. He's got a full year calendar. He can go to TNA, do a couple of matches, get a Leon Slater match in there or something like that. He probably wants to work Frankie Kazarian, let him do that. Could turn up at AEW. He could turn up at All In. He could work, one of the younger wrestlers, maybe working Ospreay or something like that. Harken back to that Brit Rez rivalry he got back in the day. Let him work one for himself on a collision with Daniels or something, and then he could work the Tokyo Dome next year and retire there. I feel like that we've mapped it out for him, and maybe that's what's really going on. But I don't know. Do you believe there's any possibility that, in the more serious question, do you actually believe he's retiring at the end of the month?
Well, to the AEW point, yeah, that is one of the questions I was actually going to ask you, because I don't feel like that's been discussed at all. Is it so outlandish and out there? You've got to remember, this is the guy who regularly toured the world. He missed all his kids growing. He's got has he got 4 kids or whatever? Missed them growing up because he was doing York Hall, or he was doing Karakan Hall in Japan or whatever. And is he obviously? I'm assuming he wants to retire because he's obviously, like most older wrestlers, he can't do the stuff he used to do back in the day, but he's sort of like changed his style, hasn't he, so that he can still go. But I mean, even that match on Raw on Monday, I mean, he was looking a bit sluggish in there in parts, so maybe that was because he was doing 2 big matches over a couple of days. But I'd love it if he went back to AEW for like 6 months or whatever. Get his revenge on Kenny. There was no revenge there, was there? Kenny booted him out of the Bullet Club, and that was it, And I never quite felt that did him. I don't recall him and Danielson having that great chemistry when they sort of like had their few matches in Ring of Honor. But so
there's one I know Alan Farrell was big on that we did rate when we did, I think we did the Danielson tape, and I'm sure he threw us maybe it was a low-key match, but I'm pretty sure it was an AJ match. No, never been for me. It's like combo. But they could just try it again, see if they can make it work. That's some good professional matches in WWE. Some very good like gentlemen's 3.5s.
But and also AJ's like, remember when he used to be the sort of like the proving match for people, obviously Will Ospreay and Pac in 1PW and people like that, and obviously he did it to a lesser extent for Leon Slater, and it'd be great to see him just go in, have a few big matches, work with a few of the other guys. But I don't know if he is retiring this weekend, which I personally think he probably is. Then perhaps that's it. He's done. He's going to go home finally. But what does a guy like that do? You've been on the road so long. I mean, I know he's a big gamer and everything, but he goes home and then that's it, isn't it? Which I suppose a lot
kids
of
are growing up as well.
Struggle with. Yeah, exactly. They're like, we don't want to. We were used to being in Japan and touring around America and going to the UK and doing PCW, Preston Championship Wrestling, So, yeah. I wonder,
Preston City, it's a city, not a town, Martin. We've got to get that right. We'll have the BW people in the air. Honestly, I don't think it's outlandish. Like, okay, it's a bit outlandish, but it's not as outlandish as, like, I think some would say. Like, AJ's one of those wrestlers, it's like, you almost got to, like, calculate how much of a mark for himself is he to want to do this. Like, he's the type of wrestler, I don't think he's enough of a mark for just the idea of working AEW. I think he's old enough. He's comfortable enough in his career. He had the long run. He worked pretty much everywhere. He's not someone, I think, at this point that we saw it, when the last time his contract came up, he fancied the safety of a WWE run where he could have nice, solid, like I say, the floor is always like 3.25 with AJ and the ceiling's like 3.75, and he had a nice, comfortable job in WWE, and he took that option and didn't seem to really seriously explore going to AEW, and was probably at a point in his life he didn't need to, but is he enough of a mark that he might think, well, I could go once, though. I could work Wembley. I could do a one-off. I could work insert person that I'm interested in working. Like you say, I could go to the Tokyo Dome. He could have literally, we're talking, Tanahashi's retirement run was pretty well done. Cena's one obviously wasn't. AJ could actually have one of the great retirement runs of all time based on this month and this closing of the chapter in WWE. If he goes out there and has another fun match with Gunther like he did with Nakamura, and then could possibly do those things just as one-offs, it'd be an all-timer. It really would. But again, it depends. I mean, I'm saying this about a man who's got his own name tattooed on his side, so maybe he is enough of a mark to want to do this. But like, it almost feels like we did that AJ Styles mixtape on the Patreon a little bit too early, because he's one of those people who's been everywhere, done everything. I know yourself as an AJ fan never expected him to even have this WWE run, so it almost felt like cherry on top when he got there, and then he stayed for 10 years. He might well think, I'll just dot a couple of other ones. I'll literally, get an AEW in, so my cage match has that one extra big time promotion. He's got WCW, you can count that too, even if it was a cup of tea during the end. He might fancy a bit of that.
But I wonder, because I do remember he did those all those British dates, didn't he? He did Red Pro, and then he did the and dropped the belt to Zack, and then he did all those ones with 5-star wrestling. And I remember, even though it was an arena show, AJ was still out at the merch stand, like signing autographs and stuff. I know there was only about 500 people there or whatever, but I was like, oh, that guy's just trying to milk as much money as he can before he goes to WWE. And is that guy still in there? You know what I mean? Does he go to Tony Khan? I'll do 7 shows for you. Pay me $100,000. We'll do Wembley. I'll even do Daniels and Joe again if you want, and just pay me X amount of money or whatever, and I'll face off with Kenny.
Oh yeah, they could do the 3-way.
A few months exactly. I mean, is Daniels officially retired?
Yeah, he still locks around. He still does the odd match, I'm sure. I mean, if Billy Gunn can work on Collision, he could work on Collision as well. Like, I don't think it's totally far-fetched. And like you say, he had that work ethic at one point in his life to be willing to do that, to be willing to travel. I'm sure he got, decent flights and he was probably in business class. But, to come up at that period, he didn't need to come over to York Hall. He didn't need to come over to York Hall, to be honest, in the early 2000s when he was doing it then as well. He's just got that little part of him inside. If you haven't thought of it already, tap him up, Tony, and make it work. It could be a thing. Were you at those shows then? Like say, Andy's saying there, it's 10 years since the Rumble appearance. But like say, he was in England in January of 2016 as well, which is just like a mad little thing to think about.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier today. I think he must have been one of the wrestlers I've seen wrestle the most, because I obviously those first sort of like 3 or 4 1PW shows, that I went to, he was on all of those, and then obviously the TNA tours, and then seeing him at WrestleMania and WWE shows and things like that. And then I was at that Red Pro show, and then obviously Sheffield Arena had his match against Rey Mysterio before obviously Mysterio got his went down to Brazil or wherever and got his knees fixed. So, but that was like a dream. That was seen as like a dream match. It was like AJ against Ray sort of thing. But I think you went to that tour, didn't you? Didn't you do a show at Liverpool?
Yeah. Matty had somehow, as Matty will, managed to finagle like 20 free tickets or whatever we ended up with that day. So yeah, we had the whole row to ourselves watching it. But you'll surprise me sometimes and be like, did you know Rey Mysterio was on that show? Did you know like Zach Gibson was on that show? Like some of the names will make your eyes water. But I'd forgotten AJ was on that. I think Matty mentioned that when we did the Grapple mixtape on his career. So there you go, got to be part of history in that January period. And it's like it's like, did you watch that YouTube clip of him 10 years ago? It is surreal to see, isn't it? Just like it almost felt like, again, that was obviously we'd had Brian and we'd had Punk at that point, and obviously NXT being a thing kind of changed it, but it still felt wrong. Like our AJ Styles, the guy who wears the biker shorts and was the the little guy who should have been pushed in TNA and was never quite pushed to the best of his ability, like being in WWE.
Yeah, I did watch that, and like you say, obviously the camera crew, I mean, that clip you sent me was edited to show his full entrance, but they fucked his entrance up, didn't they? And
we leave that out, Kevin Dunn.
Roman or whatever, yeah. But like you said, so when he got in the ring and he was, wow, the size difference even between him and Roman's not like the biggest wrestler they've got, is he? You know what I mean? So it was weird, and you thought that because it was Vince and everybody that they were going to go, oh, well, he's TNA's guy, we'll bring him in and just job him out to everybody. But that year alone, he was having that feud with Cena and everything. And I know he had some dodgy creative early on, didn't he? Went to something like he was like the scrappy dog or some bollocks like that. I can't quite remember, but the Pitbull, and a few things like that. But then, I mean, when Roman was still getting booed, them two had, for me anyway, had two absolute banging matches on pay-per-view. I think because Extreme Rules, and he had a good, really early start to his WWE career. And I think a lot of us still had, even though they'd had Punk and Bryan, a lot of us had in the back of my mind, oh, well, they're going to view him as an indie guy or especially a TNA guy and just shit all over him, and he'll be the next Caval or list. I remember other indie wrestlers that have gone through WWE and done fuck all.
Yeah, and Andy says here, the point I was like literally about to make, I think there's two things that went in his favour. Actually, three probably. One of them was probably politics, and I'm sure him and Vince had some great conversations during those periods, unfortunately. But, I'm sure he probably went to Vince. Actually, I should say as well, that Rumble appearance, he does, honestly, he looks tiny looking back, but he'd had the back injury, hadn't he, going in, and he was working through dates, and, he probably was gutted that he went into WWE and he couldn't, look even as big as an AJ Styles would. He looked tiny even compared to him, but he did bulk back up again. They probably chatted some politics, but I think the main thing that got him in the good graces was the series of Roman matches, and I think doing everything they wanted to do in that series and giving Shane a good Mania match, as Andy said there, or Shane giving AJ a good Mania match. It could be one way or another. I think that got him in good graces too, because then he has. I mean, we don't even have to go through the whole career, because as we talked about on that Patreon show, he then settled into being your pro, reliable upper mid card to main event guy that he could constantly go back to, like on. Talking about like post wrestling, like obviously the launch of post wrestling, that little period when live audio wrestling went down. I actually saw the tweet of that the other day when we were going back and talking all the nostalgia, like, and that dark period when John and Way were just they were randomly uploading reviews, weren't they, to archive.org. I went to like one of the SmackDowns to review, which was the famous one that where AJ won the belt from Jinder Mahal in Manchester. Like I think I did put a bit of audio down, but we didn't have anywhere to send it in the end. So maybe I'll track that audio down and see if I can find it. But like that was kind of the peak. If not, maybe the Brock match. Maybe you throw that in there as well. And then, like I say, he's quietly just had a nice 10 years of, again, very good professional matches, and with a high floor and a low ceiling. And it's just been a nice little easy career for him that you can't really get mad at him for going down that path, can you?
No, exactly. It's like you said. And I think Rocky Romero fetched this up on an interview I had years ago. And he said, most wrestlers, that's what they want to do. They want to do the AJ Styles and they want to do the Finn Balor and things like Prince Devitt rather, and go around Japan, go around the UK, do all the dates. And then you go to WWE, take it easy and get a payday. And I suppose that's basically what AJ did. He was like, got nothing else left to prove. I've gone to the top of New Japan. I've had all these banging sort of like quote unquote 5-star matches and just go to WWE. Because Yeah, I was looking through the Wikipedia for him last night, and especially going through his WWE career. And other than those early couple of years, yeah, it was very uneventful, wasn't it? I feel, and he didn't have any memorable sort of like he held the title for ages, and I was like, wow, I can't remember any of this. And that's when I was still watching WWE on the regular basis. So yeah, he's and like you said, he never really had that. He was like, oh, he's going to take Brian on, but they never really had that great chemistry together anyway, did they? I suppose. Yeah, did you have a tear in your eye though? Punk AJ last Monday, throwback to what was it? Ring of Honor second anniversary or our best. I've never seen either of them two shows. From memory, were they good opponents for each other, Punk and AJ?
The pure title match I remember being pretty good as far as an example of like pure title matches you can do in that period. Again, I think I planned on including that on some Grapple mixtapes we've done recently and didn't in the end. I don't know whether it held up when you went back. To be honest, I don't think it really held up on Raw. It was all right, wasn't it? Punk and AJ, it was just like, there's a couple of older dogs in there trying the best. The Nakamura match blew my mind though, like obviously around the ballpark, talking the Gunther match there and his predictions for that. I'm expecting big things about that. I think that will like fit, more of a, AJ style these days. But again, the Punk match was a Raw match. It was nothing. The Nakamura match, though, did feel, very much like turning the clock back. Did make me think that they might be able to do something special with the Rumble match. It was a genuine surprise for me. I know you caught up with it.
Yeah, I was really surprised at it because
they had some rough ones talking the career, didn't they? Like you mentioned Brian there, but like they forgot their chemistry, didn't they, for like a 3-year period?
Oh my God, you talk about rough ones. I was in the fucking building in New Orleans, and we'd had a pretty decent Mania up until that point, and then the last 2 hours of that just dragged. We had that, and I was really looking forward to it, and so was everyone else. And that literally everyone in my section halfway through that match just started having a conversation between themselves. And I think that was the days of the Beach Balls that came out even before Brock and Roman, and I was like, oh my God. And so I kind of still not forgiven them for putting me through that live. And then what did they have one in Saudi? That wasn't great either. They had a run of matches and they were all terrible, but
built around low blows.
Yeah. But really pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I wasn't aware that Nakamura had been wrestling in a t-shirt for ages, but yeah, good to see him. You know when Japanese wrestlers are taking it seriously when they take the t-shirt off and whatever. Yeah, and rolled the clock back, didn't they? And had I wouldn't say it was as good, obviously, as the Wrestle Kingdom match, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I've been able to say that about WWE in a long time. But yeah, and I like this idea as well as much as like the Punk and AJ match wasn't, it was all right. It was just more about seeing them in the ring together. I love this idea that he's like, right, I want another match from Nakamura. I want Punk, and then I'm going to go all out, leave everything on the table for my big Rumble match with Gunther. And I think that's why I think he is going to retire, because I think he's requested all this stuff from WWE. And why have these retirements got to be drawn out? I mean, obviously they had to do it with Cena to sell the tickets for the events and things like that, but yeah, perfect way to go out on your own terms. Isn't your contract up in around February time anyway? So yeah, I mean, why not?
Makes sense.
For me, there's nothing else that special going on at the Rumble. All I'm interested in is this AJ Gunther match, really.
Yeah, it's like you say there as well. Or the other, I mean, it might just be a gigantic work. It might be, around the ballpark says there, he thinks Gunther's going to beat AJ by cheating. He does a run in from the crowd, eliminates Gunther. Gunther demands Pierce that AJ gets reinstated for a third match. I'm not sure it goes that route. I honestly do believe he's done. And I think as much of it is, like we mentioned Nakamura there, is that Nakamura Instagram post. I don't know if you saw it, where it was basically a love letter to AJ. Where it was just like, I'm so sad you're going at the end of the, at the Royal Rumble. And it's just like, unless he's really tripling down on the work here, that felt like a shoot. That felt legitimate. It felt like you say, it's felt legitimate. That's the last time he shared a ring with Punk. It felt legitimate. That's the last time he shared a ring with Nakamura. Everything about it, like you said there. Now, again, very good the match was, like in a WWE, within WWE constraints, but it was very un-WWE in other ways as well, wasn't it? They weren't quite as crisp as they were 10 years ago, but they were still as stiff as they were 10 years ago. Obviously, the knee to Nakamura's face, and obviously the callbacks to their matches and other Nakamura matches going through Japan have obviously been noted by a few people as well. Like, they tried to put something together artistically that maybe their bodies aren't quite up to these days, but they were close enough, and they're enough of a pro, both of them, at this point in their career to kind of cover for those things, and it really did feel like in a WWE style match they were leaving everything out there as like, okay, this is the last chance, this is the last time we'll ever get to do it. So I do believe it. I think it's done, and I do think he'll leave it all out as well with Gunther. I think that will you expect a stiff match with him working from underneath, but I expect nothing other than Gunther going over. It'd be a jagger. It also, like, I know Hamlet's been making the argument on our Discord, and I think he made it possibly on the live last week with me about the possibility of doing, the opposite and having, AJ beat Gunther, but then Gunther wins the Royal Rumble, and therefore, AJ's got that over Gunther, but Gunther, makes up for it by winning the Rumble, and there's possibly a story you could tell there, but I don't think so. I really do think it's just going to be, he's going to go out on his back. And like you said, why does it have to be drawn out? He's going to have this really great consolidated month. Maybe we won't get the fantasy booked 2026 that me and you are looking for, as the chatter said. Maybe we'll just get a Hall of Fame and done. But I think that's good enough too, isn't it? As far as like a WWE retirement, it can just be done that way, and it can be, all consolidated into this January.
I was surprised how many callbacks they did after the Wrestle Kingdom match. Obviously, he did the gun to the head as well, didn't he? And he came out with the mask
the
on.
At the end.
Mm-hmm. And this is when Michael Cole turns into the fucking New Japan expert, isn't he?
Did you used to believe that?
This shit, mate.
I realised that when we did Canadian Stampede, Jim Ross is just reading out facts about the great Sasuke and Taka Michinoku, and it's like, clearly Dave Meltzer's just sent him that, and he's reading it out. In my brain as a kid, I was like, he must be watching it. He must be going, Michael Cole must have been watching all this Japan. No, he's not. Somebody's literally just given him a list of names and moves, and he knows when to say them, and that's pretty much the extent of it. But he was trying, but I'll take that from Michael Cole from the alternative.
Well, what of the scenario? I know you didn't want to turn this into a Rumble preview, but we are talking about AJ. So what are the scenarios or situations for his retirement? We've got loses to Walter and that's it, which is what me and you were thinking. He beats Walter and Walter wins the Rumble, like you said, what Michael Hamlet said, as maybe as a final match at WrestleMania. Although my mate did send me a text today and he said, what if AJ and Gunther's on last and AJ enters the Rumble, wins it, and then loses to Gunther? Then...
could go that route.
I mean, that's the least likely of all the situations.
Yeah, and also, the Rumble's going on last. Definitely the men's Rumble's going on last year. The 30-woman, covered up to the neck women's Royal Rumble is probably going to be opening things on in Saudi coming up. But there might be routes, though. Like I say, there's a lot of... I think most likely AJ loses and most likely he's done. There could be that temptation to do a retirement match at Mania, and that maybe does lend some credence to what some are saying in the chat, like around the ballpark are saying there, that maybe you could backdoor your way into, one more match between Gunther and AJ, depending on maybe Gunther's holding the belt by the time WrestleMania comes around. Like, it's good that it's wide open. It's good that these possibilities do exist. Part of it's because they've done such an undercut job setting up this Royal Rumble this year, but it does leave all of those possibilities wide open, and there could be as far as winners for the Rumble, that was another thing Hamlet said, the fact that Jey Uso won it last year does actually make you think, well, literally anybody could win, because if a mid-carder like Jey I'm putting words in his mouth, if a mid-carder like Jey can possibly win the Rumble, then anybody can win the Rumble. So it's not without the realm of possibility AJ could win. It's not out the realm of possibility. It could be something a bit different than Cody or Roman being the most likely winners there. It does make things a little bit more interesting.
Well, depending on, do you think Jericho's going to be at the Rumble? Because hasn't AJ Styles been
almost certainly
on record saying he grew up sort of a Jericho fan, and they had a series of matches already in WWE. I mean, that could be a possible sort of last WrestleMania.
We're not bringing Y2AJ back.
Something I want, but it's something that maybe AJ wants, and I'm certainly Jericho would want it.
We left out the short bio, Y2AJ, the tag team that existed, to sell some t-shirts for 1 week before they did the big turn. I could see crossing backstage or something like that, or doing some kind of backstage segment. I do think Jericho's going to be there. I think it's funny because a report came out today that I'm sure Matty and Gareth will have more on it tomorrow, and we know a little bit more of who's been getting on the plane. But it's not as easy, is it, as having a Rumble in the New York area, and you can put somebody on a hotel in Boston and they can drive up the next day. If you go into Saudi Arabia, people are probably going to notice. So, Nikki Bella apparently was spotted today on a plane, or in the background of Instagram photos, I think, of people. She's been gone since tail end of last year. So I think a lot of these surprises are going to get ruined, and there'll be a video of Jericho in fucking Abu Dhabi or somewhere like that, or somewhere in that part of the world ready to make his return. But I reckon we're going to find out. I think that they've got a job on their hands trying to keep any of these things a surprise come Saturday evening, and I think we're probably going to know the majority of them.
Because I think Fozzy have got a couple of dates in February. I think touring over here and a couple of other places, but
no Mondays. I think somebody noted, which means I'm not watching Monday Night Raw, which I don't, so it's fine. I'll become a SmackDown guy. It's fine.
Yeah. There's because it's like you said. I mean, the amount of people that could possibly return at this Rumble. You got Bianca Belair. She's been out a while, hasn't she? Kevin Owens. I know he had neck surgery last summer. Is he maybe due back? Your favorite, Seth Rollins. Surely he's coming back.
He's saying no, but we don't trust him after
that
Netflix.
Means yes, doesn't it? If he says
wrestling,
no,
yeah. Yeah, there's possibilities there. Do you have any picks on? Like, we obviously won't do the full preview. If you were going to nail it down as far as a men's and women's winner.
Well, I think if Seth Rollins comes back, I think he's winning it and taking Braun Breaker on. If not, maybe Roman to take CM Punk on. Women's winner, I've got absolutely no idea, to be honest with you. I mean, they all seem to be tied up with tag teams as far as the stuff that I was watching the past couple of weeks. Who I don't know.
Someone let us know in the chat who's the favourites there, because like on the men's side, I can't look past that. I can't look past Roman and Cody as the most likely ones. I'd take that though. Like if there's politics that have meant that Roman and Cody is the reason is off because they couldn't decide he was going to win or not, which is it doesn't say much about Paul Levesque as a boss, does it? That he can't get this over the line. I think Cody versus Drew McIntyre is just so uninteresting. Maybe you can throw Jacob in, maybe you can throw Sammy in and do like some kind of multi-person match. But I'll take it if it means Roman versus Punk is the other big match, or dare I say it, Roman versus The Rock. We've got a story on him later that might make that a possibility. But Roman Punk seems the more likely as a possibility coming out of it. And yeah, you could just have Roman go over and then he wins the Rumble and then we don't have to see him until WrestleMania. So it works with his schedule as well. Apparently Brock's been confirmed, Chris Elliott says there, and Roman is the favourite there. Bianca and Liv Morgan are the favourites for the women's. Bianca Belair.
Well, that was the thing with sorry, we got the watered down version, didn't we? Because they had the 3-way at WrestleMania, and everyone was like, "Oh, it should be a sort of like Roman Punk straight up singles match." So perhaps we'll get that this year. Because I know a few people were saying, "Oh, maybe if we're going to get Punk and Braun Breaker," but I think Braun's definitely it's definitely going to be Seth Rollins coming in and dragging him out of the Rumble or something like that. Maybe not winning it, but coming in and interfering in that match. Definitely, if he said he's not going to be there, he's definitely going to be there.
Yeah, that's the way wrestling works. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But like I say, Batty and Garth will have the full betting odds on it tomorrow. So maybe Matty will have some theories of where they could go rather than the obvious two favourites with Roman and Liv. But before we move on for WWE, did you have any other thoughts on the little bit of tell you watch? Like I say, part of having you on this week, mate, was putting you through the grind. It's like back in the day when I used to say Martin would make me watch ICW. I'd usually be volunteering. It'd usually be it'd be my fault when we'd end up watching some of the stuff we watch. But I like blaming Martin. It was fun. You can blame me this week, mate. You've had to watch some WWE. Any other highlights from watching Saturday night's main events or any of the TV?
I don't think people even in Glasgow are watching ICW anymore.
It's like Super Strong style, isn't it? Have you seen that? The first round this year is like in just random European indies. I don't know what's going on there. Remember when we used to have Ali Pali? Oh, remember that.
I know, them were the days. But yeah, I figured out that as much as I enjoyed all the AJ stuff, I had a lot of and Saturday night's main event was a good show. I did want to pull the brakes on there. It's kind of like WWE's back, but the build to the Rumble hasn't been great in my opinion. It's
been 4 weeks.
Exactly. You have one great show in how many months, and are they really back? But the AJ retirement angle. I think I'm not that interested in sort of Sami Zayn and Drew in the Rumble. I think maybe obviously we'll get more of that on SmackDown, won't we? Perhaps we might do a big promo battle and things. Jacob Fatu, I mean, I only watched the promo he did on SmackDown. That was a fantastic promo.
Jumps off the screen, doesn't he? In every way.
And great charisma, great intensity. Obviously, him and Cody had that fantastic brawl. I do question, though, and you might know better than me, has he actually had a sort of standout singles match yet, though? I know he's done a bunch of tags and multi-mans, but has he had that sort of like standout sort of like one-on-one performance? Because obviously the match with him and Cody was more of a sort of like walk and brawl, weren't it, really?
Yeah, which suited him, to be honest. Like, it suited like the strengths of his best stuff in MLW. And like I say, JP used to be the one being like, oh, this Jacob Fatu is the next big thing. And then I know Matty was on him as well during that period. Like, match-wise, as with anyone in WWE, I bet you, Matty, you point out to the Solo Sikoa match or something like that as a possibility, but not really. Like the LA night match that he had last year, not really for me. If anything, he stood out as obviously as a character standing in the background of the Bloodline stuff, but also stood out for me as somebody who they've just not got going with, and they've just not seemed to know how to book and how to present, and what he should be. Gareth was very critical of like his in-ring style compared to the way they would present him as a monster, and maybe the two things not quite matching up. And I was definitely sympathetic to that point. I actually think like Saturday night's main event and like this last little run since he's come back, it's perfectly suited to him. Everything about it, because it's like they kind of want to have the cake and eat it too with Jacob Fatu, where it's like, oh, he's this silent Samoan killer. But actually, when you let him talk, and he's, the way he talks is, he got like the street lingo down and stuff like that. He's quite cool, isn't he? It's like you want to hear him talk more. You want it to be like this off the rail character who could do anything at any given time, but also he's not like the traditional Samoan brute style. Like he is actually a more fully formed person. And I actually think this little run, these last few weeks, won't get ahead of myself, has been the best way they presented him, and it's the best way he's presented himself too. Like you say, the little walkout promo that he'll do with the camera following on his way out, and even the way he's dressing with like the daft red Tupac bandana and all that stuff, you can just feel he's being himself more. And yes, he still makes some weird decisions in matches, like in the Cody match where he had like the weird like Jeff Hardy died, was the whisper in the wind they used to call it. He tried to do like 6 too many springboards, and then by the time he did the last one, he missed Cody by a country mile, but they just pretended like he hit him. Like, you'll still get those little moments with Jacob, but the wildness of the brawl was like, no, that's what I want to see. I want to see him have matches like this. I wasn't even bothered when Drew came out and caused the DQ. It was a cheap way out of not having either of them lose, but you probably don't want either of them to lose at this point, and it kind of worked with the story that they told there, so I was fine with it. And yeah, that was probably as good as a performance as I've seen him have in ring / out of ring. And for me, it's more been the presentation since this comeback. It's like, yep, let's go. Let's strap the racket to him and let's go.
I'd still keep him bubbling under for a bit, me. I think it might be too much. If you had him win a belt at Mania or whatever, sorry, not a belt, one of the two sort of like world titles, I think it might be too soon for me. And I think it might be too soon for them. How Triple H likes to keep these things
he's like,
going before
he'll be in 4 years Royal Rumbles, won't he?
Yeah.
The next Saudi Royal Rumble in half a decade. That's probably the way Triple H will become. But yeah, he's a massive standout, and I was the same as you. Saturday night's main event, it was just cool to see Sami Zayn, in Montreal again, getting the reaction he's got. There's a little quiet story you can obviously tell there as well. So yeah, he's obviously a bit of a dark horse as far as the start of the year, and could be in a big position at Mania time as well. But no, I thought Saturday main event, outside of Stephanie McMahon chewing scenery,
butchering the French language,
horrendous, was great. And yet the women's tag was great on there as well. I continue to be buy those Rhea Ripley stocks. I think it's definitely worthwhile. But yeah, outside that, I'm sure anything more on WWE.
Yeah, just quickly. Obviously the women's tag was pretty good on Monday as well, and Rhea Ripley and Io
women's
Sky.
tag divisions are booked better in WWE and AEW than the singles divisions are right now in both regards.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's getting more time, at least you could probably say.
Yeah, and that was stuff I enjoyed. Obviously, Natty can fuck off. That stuff was terrible, and obviously the image we saw.
Did you see that meme?
It was. Yeah.
I mean, I know JP loves some AI, but like she AI'd herself a knob. Like, I don't know what was going on there. It was like the old Heart Foundation one, wasn't it? Where they're all pissing against the wall. I'm not sure how that works, but she made it work.
Yeah, but I could do without that. But still, I watched all this WWE, and still 1 foot in, 1 foot out for me. I'll stick around for sort of like the major stuff and that, but still not for me. So watching that full 3 hour on Netflix, I had this quote that Matt Damon said a couple of months ago. I think him and Ben Affleck did a movie with Netflix, and they said, "Oh, what you've got to do when you make stuff for Netflix, because everyone's looking at the phones all the time, is make sure you remind people about what's happening on the screen, like all the time." Sort of thing. And he was like, how do you get anything made doing this? And I just was thinking about that the whole time I was watching Raw on Netflix about it, just constantly. I mean, and the Finn Balor stuff, I mean, I used to like him when he was Devitt. I don't, but
they surprised me with that. I didn't expect it. I don't know whether that's good or not, though, because I was like watching like the Belfast Raw. Like, I think the thing about it was like he was just Fergal Devitt when he was just himself, and he was quite likable, and it was a nice moment for him. And even the backstage Punk stuff with Punk, I was like, oh, what a nice moment. I'd been spoiled on most of the Raw, but I didn't know that's how it ended with them turning and going against Punk. But that's wrestling for you, isn't it? It's it's a Chekhov's heel turn. It was always going to happen, but I just don't actually think it's the most interesting way he presents him. He dresses in black and he's in a stable and he's moody. Like, I think he's not obviously the most charismatic, and you could see that in the backstage segment with Punk, but I think where he
the
is
one
at
with
his most
Liv as well,
charismatic
he
is when
looked
he's a
really
face.
awkward as well. I was like, he's been doing this for so long now, and then he does that.
How's he not acting?
Bit with Liv, and it was just a bit,
Awful, but yeah. Jordan saying there, the opener match of the year, Kabuki Warriors and Rhea and Io is very good. The Rhea and Io tag team, Rio, I think they're calling them, just to confuse things. Now there's 3 Rios in women's wrestling. Was very strong as well. But yeah, some decent stuff from WWE from the last week. But like I say, I've got you on, Martin. Don't often get to chat current wrestling with you, so we do need to talk some AEW as well. And our way into the story, I reckon, Martin, is again, I like to talk about rumours on here and create clickbait thumbnails. So here's another one for you. WWE countering AEW All In. Is it true? There's been some reporting this week that it might well be the case that WWE are planning on doing another Cardiff show, potentially in August. I'm not 100% sure whether I buy it's a realistic possibility or not. They do have the little matter of, SummerSlam, the biggest show of the summer, allegedly happening in early August, and then obviously AEW All In is taking place on the big bank holiday weekend at the end of August. So you've pretty much got a 2-week window there where you could sandwich something in. But yeah, it's Andrew Bate-Darla saying there's a ton of noise and chatter that WWE are planning on running a major show in August 2026 at the Principality Stadium in Wales. So maybe they'll pull out a boxer or two. We can all have a sing-song with Drew. But yeah, apparently it won't be head-to-head with All In. That's the only thing he knows. Would you put it past the bastards, Martin? That's the question to you.
100% not. You wouldn't put it past them at all. Although I did see once I'd read that article like you did that I think someone noted that there was talk of it being earlier on in August, but still that's gonna fuck with sort of AEW ticket sales, isn't it? I mean, I don't see them running head to head. I don't put anything past WWE, Donald Trump's favorite fucking wrestling promotion. The guys will do anything, to fuck with anybody else. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit unrealistic seeing them go head to head because it'd affect them both, wouldn't it? WWE wouldn't sell as well at Cardiff, AEW wouldn't sell as Wembley, and everyone's losing. But still, it would affect them if they did have a show earlier in August, because then people are like, one big wrestling show in August, I'll pick one or the other. So, but I wouldn't put it past them. And then, you'll have a Triple H coming out there and saying, oh, well, this was planned 17 years ago, and we always planned to do these things in Cardiff. But yeah, I absolutely wouldn't put it past them. But I can't see it head to head.
They got form, obviously, was it WrestlePalooza that was the Forbidden Door weekend last year, was it? I think that's right. Obviously, with all
the stuff to go up against All Out as well, or All In, was it? All that stuff as well, all those shenanigans.
It just gives me more material for biggest wrestling weekend of the year, question mark. I'll throw that on there on YouTube. Like, if they did run Cardiff, honestly, it would just feel like that. It'd feel like WrestleMania weekend and WWE's GCW or something like that, running a little afternoon show. Being careful not to run head-to-head with Rev Pro or Eve or whoever else is running on the weekend and having their nice little show in Cardiff before AEW. Because obviously, as we know, last year, AEW do like running Cardiff themselves for the Dynamite before Wembley. It's a funny one because, like, we've always said that, like, it's always an odd decision, who's gonna head down to Cardiff on their way to Wembley. Like, if you know anything about the geography, it doesn't really work for a lot of people. And we kind of saw that with some of AEW's numbers when they tried it, which does beg the question, how wise a decision it would be for WWE to run it. But for all the reasons you mentioned there, it also doesn't mean they wouldn't. It also doesn't mean they wouldn't cut the nose off to spite the face. It also doesn't mean they wouldn't take the hit of whatever lesser attendance they do because people are saving up to go to Wembley. Like, they'll take that if it knocks 3,000 off of, like, the Wembley number. Like, that's just how they are, and it's how Triple H is always going to be. And Nick Khan's a little bit that way inclined as well, isn't he? It's not an impossibility whatsoever, but I do question where they could fit it in.
Well, I mean, Triple H learned under the Vince tree, didn't he? And he did everything he could to, like, fuck with everybody. So, that's just as much as he can.
You'll have a mole in Brent Council. You'll figure some kind of way to fuck with things coming up. But on the Wembley point, and we'll get into some AEW thoughts from you. Do you believe Ospreay will be back? Obviously, he was backstage at Dynamite. I think it was last week, wasn't it? And getting himself checked out, or maybe the week before. It seems an imminent possibility, Ospreay's return. And we were saying last week, I can't see anything other than Ospreay main eventing and say winning the Owen or something like that to get a title shot at MJF, or maybe Samoa Joe will be world champion again by the time we get to AEW All In. We can all pray and hope. But yeah, I think the Ospreay is going to be who it's going to be built around this year.
Well, it'll be Ospreay AJ against Wembley, won't it? But no.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There's your match. Yeah, there you go. Full circle.
Yeah, realistically, obviously, Ospreay is going to want to absolutely be on that, especially if there's the talk of him mainly headlining against maybe Kenny or Swerve. Would be a cracking match. Swerve's proved he can headline those big shows like he did against Bryan a couple of years ago. But I don't know anything about neck injuries, and from listening to other people that, you know, coming back, it would literally take a year if you have had neck surgery to come back from anything. So if he is coming back, he's going to want to come back and he's going to want to do his best. I feel that he literally comes back and he's straight into the main event at Wembley. I don't think we're going to get a big build up to it, or we're not going to get Ospreay. He might come and do some promos and build up the match that way, but I think maybe his first or second match back is going to be main event in Wembley, which is a hell of a fucking task for anybody, even a wrestler of Will Ospreay's caliber, especially all that ring rush you're going to have from having a year out.
Yeah, that's it. And it might sell a couple more tickets, create a little bit of an interest. That it's the first time you get to see Ospreay there. Saying that, he probably won't be able to help himself, and he'll end up wearing Carl Fletcher at AEW Grand Slam or something like that coming up and worm his way back into working. But yeah, for me, I could see it going that way as well with it. And yeah, I think that's...
We all want it, don't we? We all want it. I mean, that was always a thing once Ospreay signed with AEW and we got these big Wembley shows. It was always like, well, the natural thing is Ospreay's going to headline one of these one day. And, you know, it's a bit much saying like, oh, we've got to have a hometown person on there, but everyone's going to be behind him, and yeah, it'll be fantastic. I mean, are you going to be coming back for that if it does happen? If we're going to get a Kenny v Ospreay or Swerve against Ospreay or AJ against Ospreay?
That's the plan. I think I will. I think I'll end up flying back. I think the only problem is it's August time, so it's back. It's, you know, obviously with the bank holiday and the summer holidays and stuff. Even coming all the way back from Thailand or Vietnam or whatever I'll be, the prices are a little bit higher on the flights. But if WWE run Cardiff, maybe that'll give me a double reason to come back and make it work. Obviously, Ewan saying there as well. Yeah, he spoke to Ospreay at Eve and he said he was a long way off even training again. See the Seth Rollins conversation before, as Ewan rightly notes. We will continue to doubt what the wrestlers say, but that could be something that get me in there. Maybe we could get him to put another appearance in it, maybe at a Grapple Live show or something like that. Maybe we could.
There you go, yeah. And it sounds like a lot of the Canadian contingent might be coming over. They're all and ahhing about it, so yeah.
I think having that year off genuinely is going to be a big help, innit? For the draw, like having that year off from a Wembley show. I know a lot of people travel. Were you at Forbidden Door last year? Were you there with everybody?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Like it felt like the hardcores went, but like there's still, you know, the many tens of thousands that go to Wembley. I think having the year off probably has made some people who probably thought the year before last, I probably won't bother next year. I think, fuck it, it's a Wembley show. I missed that. It's been 2 years. I'll go again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because it was fun watching it live. Obviously, we got, you know, the big cage match, and, you know, it was a lot of fun watching it live, but it wasn't something you were like, oh, we need to go back and watch that immediately. And so I think we, you know, killed a few brain cells when everyone did the meet up after, and that was probably the most sort of like best bit about the night, you know, meeting everyone after and having.
Could you not have a word with Royce Keys and say, fuck WWF, mate, stay with AEW, stick around, if that is his real name. Missed him on the Rumble, he could win.
I know you and Matty were saying, oh, what's in the name? Who cares about a name? But Royce Keys, come on. He's hitting with a fucking key crusher. Yeah, come on now.
There are a few subjects where me and Matty agree, but one we do agree on is when everyone was up in arms because Christopher Hero was having his name changed when he went to WWE. I mean, come on, his name was Chris Hero. What are we doing? I think me and you had a few of those conversations.
Walter wasn't a great name, really, was it? You just kind of accepted it after a while, didn't you? But Royce Keys, I don't know. It's a bit too 80s for me, I think.
British audio wrestling becomes British wrestling experience, and we all get used to it in the end. You know, anything can stick when it comes to names. But obviously, exactly. Wembley coming up. Have you been doing your AEW homework? Obviously, like I say, caught up with a bit of WWE the last week or so. I think AEW is the one that you do follow closely as far as not podcasting these days or being in semi-retirement. Is Dynamite and Collision still a regular party viewing each week?
Collision off and on, but definitely Dynamite. I'm a ITV4 guy. If I haven't got a gig or I'm meeting up with some friends on a Friday, it's a couple of cans and watch AEW.
Oh, you're the one. Have you got a box in your house?
I'm keeping it going. I'm fucking keeping it going, mate.
You're representing 5,000 households in the UK or something like that with one of the ratings box. You got a bar box. Is that what it is?
Yeah, I refuse. The day that ITV4 finally goes, oh, what's this wrestling thing we've got? Oh yeah, let's fucking bin that off. I'll have to.
I was tempted.
A fight subscription or whatever.
I've mentioned on here before, it's not giving it away, but we were in Steph's grandson. They've got Sky Sports there, and we were like, I'll go there to watch the footy while I'm in Belfast. It's great. I can actually watch it on time and not be spoiled by Andy Ogden and in one of our group chats telling me that a goal has gone in when I'm watching a dodgy stream. But like, I did actually look at, like, I just searched AEW on the planner, just I was bored at like 2 a.m. just to see what they had on Sky, and it did bring up ITV, and it was like a replay of like 3 weeks ago's Collision and maybe last week's Dynamite. I don't know if they're quite on it as far as getting them up in time on the on-demand.
I think if you go on ITVX, they've still got all the Wembley shows on there and Forbidden Door from last year. And
do they?
Like that. So
you have to pay for them on Triller. It's 30% of their profits last year, apparently. Jesus.
Oh well, there you go, mate. You get it free with your ITV. There you go.
Maybe the TV license isn't so bad.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's my style. I'm all about the matches. Yeah, story is great and everything, and obviously that adds to a lot more to a match. But for a week-to-week wrestling show, I want to see banging matches. And for me, and I was talking to Gareth about this when we all met up in Leeds last summer. You talk about time. Was it November? I can't remember. Fucking hell, too old for this shit now, Benno. But yeah, even for me, a bad episode of Dynamite still got some like good stuff on there, and they've got such an incredible roster. Wrestlers are always going to be able to throw some guys out there and have a good match. And I feel it's usually a slow period, but I felt they had a strong end to last year. I thought the Continental Classic, obviously, that's always something they can hit, and if they've not got any storyline thing going on, they can always chuck that in there, can't they? So that was great. I thought World's End was stronger than the other World's End they put on, obviously with the matches Moxley put on, especially with sort of like Okada, and obviously Kyle Fletcher, he continues to get better and better and better. Yeah, and then coming into this year, you kind of think, well, all the stuff's about WWE and everyone's focused on the Royal Rumble and Mania, but I kind of feel like it's the next pay-per-view in March. I feel like they've done a great way of just going, right, well, we haven't got a big show until March, so I'm not the biggest MJF fan. I don't dislike him as much as other people do. But, you know, we'll build up challenges for him, and then we've got sort of like Omega and Hangman and Swerve all bubbling under, and they can have their own little things going on. And, you know, Kenny's building up to, is he going to get the belt again? Are we going to see the best bout machine one more time sort of thing to defeat MJF and things like that? And then, I mean, God knows what's going on with fucking Moxley. Obviously, he had a fantastic sort of end to the year. I mean, how wrong? I mean, I was the guy who did the fucking John Moxley podcast with Dickie and
is it definitely done? I'm still expecting it to pop up in my feed at some point.
It might do from time to time. I mean, Dickie's got 2 kids, and juggling 3 time zones is always tricky. So, yeah.
Podcast retirement's mean nothing to me. Not worth the paper they're printed on.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I was going to jack it all in when I was 40. I'm 44 now, so yeah. Well, I lost my train of thought then. Yeah, last year I was just like, oh, Moxley, you just need to go away for a bit. This Death Riders thing, it's not working for me. I've tried giving it so much. But then, you know what I mean? Not everyone can bat 500 all the time, can they, Benno? I mean, Babe Ruth even had a shit season in 1925, and then fucking couple of years later, he's hitting the fucking home run record, 60 home runs in one season. So everyone has slumps in the thing. I feel like that was Moxley's slump. Still, for me, everyone's going, well, it was all part of the story. I still feel like part of it was a bit dragged out, a bit like his IWGP title run. Didn't really enjoy that either, but yeah, he really came good towards the end of the year. But I'm still convinced that the Death Riders are going to turn on him. But I was reading something, I can't remember, it was some news report a couple of weeks ago, said that apparently Moxley said it's not going to be a conventional turn. I am going to end up getting in with them eventually, but it's not going to be what everyone expects. So I don't know if just because they've got so much TV to get through before the next pay-per-view, tell me if I'm talking absolute shit, but I feel like they're going to do sort of like them against the Don Callis family and things like that. When they had a cracking street fight, that was fantastic on Dynamite the other day. Great, and the crowd was really into it, even though they were dead for the rest of the show. I do feel like they are going to turn on him eventually, but I think we're going to get that sort of February, March time. Yeah. But I hope so. Proven wrong. Yeah.
I hope they're building it up so that we forget about it. Like obviously Talk Dynamite with Davey on the weekend show, and I enjoyed the match. But I definitely have maybe more misgivings than Davey did, just about the idea of Daniel Garcia, and especially Wheeler Yuta, well, especially Pac and Claudio, but Wheeler Yuta, if no one else, having to be situational baby faces. And it's like, oh, you can get away with that for a week. You can get away with that when they're going up against, a heel faction that people like just that little bit less. But it should mean something. There's a Wheeler Yuta story to be told there if we ever turn him face. And I think we're all just scarred, aren't we, from the Blackpool Combat Club and that period of Mox's career where they weren't good, they weren't bad ever. It was just a bit grey and brown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's how he used to describe it on our podcast. I'm worried about that happening, but yes, we could maybe let it play out and hope that there's actually a better story to be told there, and it's just something they're doing in a few weeks rather than just being turned on a dime. But I do think like Mox's promo, obviously at the pay-per-view, felt like the biggest giveaway, where he was almost full babyface talking about how the AEW was back and how proud he was of the roster and such like that. It just felt really out of character for the story they've been telling over the last year. I'm hoping maybe he jumped the gun a bit, but that's a thread they're going to go back to and will explain when they do turn on him. But like I say, we thought that for 18 months of the Blackpool Combat Club or however long it was. And dude, my other worry, I know you're a bigger Mox guy than I am, but like Mox does settle into these little holding patterns, doesn't he? Where he's challenger of the week, he's got a belt, who knows what fucking belt it is, and he's just defending it against random wrestlers and having random matches. And one of them he might get busted open in. Actually, all of them, he might get busted open in.
Yeah.
He might pull out some barbed wire. He might have some, like you say,
you're going to bleed all over me? Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't go anywhere, do they? And I don't want that Moxley back. I want the Moxley we've seen. Like, it was my wrestler of the year, genuinely, and when we did the Grappies, to have something to sink his teeth into. But I'd hope they'd know that. What have you thought of the world title situation? That's another one where it's like, I don't like MJF. Like, and maybe I'm being worked here, but, I was gutted when he won the world title. I wasn't, as I talked about on the show, surprisingly for me, was the low man on Samoa Joe being a heel world champion in 2025 going into 2026. So it's probably a step up from that. We've just all been burnt so many times by MJF and the material that we'll have one good week and then he'll have two bad weeks, and that's kind of MJF, and you don't know which MJF you're getting in a given week. I've really loved the change to the program, and I've really loved that everyone's gunning for him and gunning for the world title. I like that we don't know who's next. We don't know which title contender is going to wrestle him. We just know everybody wants the belt and that the belt is important. And that Kenny fucking Omega, of all people, who reminded us all, oh yeah, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world on Dynamite last week against Josh Alexander. He's probably not going to remind us of it this week up against Rocky Romero, but he'll try his best. But he's also working his way up to MJF. Like, he's motivated. Like, there's so many little positive offshoots that come from MJF being champion that even though I maybe have to hold my nose in his individual segments, I love the realignment of everybody, and I love, maybe the slight unpredictability we've got about who it might be that he faces in the next, like, say, pay-per-view at Revolution in March, or for the big Dynamites coming up like Grand Slam.
100% agree, mate. When he came back, was it in Manchester? And it was like, oh, here we fucking go. MJF has to get the better of everybody.
Didn't get enough shit. It was so bad. It was so bad. So terrible. Counterproductive. I don't think Swerve and Hangman have recovered since. Hangman's knocking around with, mid-card geeks in a trios match. I like Jet Speed, but you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't feel like...
I like Jet Speed a lot, yeah.
He feels lesser than, doesn't he, though, than what he was. Him and Swerve both feel like they've taken a step. A lot of that's the buddy cop thing, not kind of working with them. It's definitely not Jet Speed's fault, I apologise. No. But, it does feel like the two of them did struggle to recover their momentum coming out of that segment. And that's the damage you can do.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it's like, why is it... Who is screening this stuff as well? Because you're like, Tony, surely you're like, well, yeah, you can get all the witty lines in, but it hasn't got to be the complete detriment of the other guys that you stood, in the ring against. And why aren't they saying anything, Keith? Don't fucking stick up for yourself, guys. Jesus. But I do agree with you. I feel like this. I think me and Andrew Thompson talked about this at Christmas, that there's so many baby faces in AEW that you have got to have, sort of like the heel MJF champion for them all to be gunning for. And it's fantastic. It's just, it goes back to that old school, the champion's the most important thing in the company and everyone wants the belt, and that's what it should be about, shouldn't it?
Yeah, that's literally what belt should mean something. I know this, in wrestling, and it's not just Tony Khan. It happens in WWE too. They've got 8 million belts as well. Yeah, just for them, it's spread across the TV shows.
Yeah, so frustrating.
But like in AEW, it's a given, most of the belts don't mean anything. Like, they put a new belt on fucking Ricochet. How's that going? Like, it's just, I love Ricochet, but like, nobody can get these belts over. You forget that Mark Briscoe's got a belt. It's ridiculous. None of them mean anything. I like at least MJF gets that and knows that this is the. And to be fair, AEW's always got the world title's always been the most important thing in the company. Even when the booking's been ropey, the world title's still the world title. But this is this is the way you book it. You have everybody chasing it, and you have everybody, like you say, all the heels and promos should be talking about Hulk Hogan and not mentioning his bald spot. This is the modern equivalent, isn't it? The faces should be talking about MJF and not talking about his hair plugs that he got when he went to Greece, allegedly. But there we go. We'll take that. I mean, any other positives from AEW at the minute? Anything else you're enjoying going into this week?
Yeah, I was going to say a negative there. There's way too many belts. I mean, I feel like there's a new fucking belt every week. And like, say, when Ricochet turned up with that fucking thing, and I'm like, what is this now? It's just.
I questioned myself. I was talking, and does he still have it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah.
Is he Trios champion? No, he's not. That's Hangman. Fucking honestly.
It looks like an old Smoky Mountain belt or something, doesn't it? It just looks really squashed.
It was just because Tony likes belts. He likes physical belts, and he wants to bring it in for that reason. But it's like, again, it's a stupid belt, the Trios belt. None of us really believe it means anything. But just the idea of having, the three lads win them last week on Collision, was it? And then literally the Dynamite afterwards, what happens? Both members of Jet Speed lose singles matches because when they're in the singles universe, those belts, while they're on their shoulders, cease to mean anything. It's just, it's always an uphill battle with AEW with that stuff. But I was going to say, I thought maybe along the lines of something you might be interested in. We've got Mark Briscoe, El Klon, and Chris Statlander versus Tekla for the AEW Women's title on Dynamite tonight. But obviously, we won't talk too much about previewing the card. But the big match on the show for me, FTR, Cash and Dax versus Jake Doyle and Mark Davis, and they feel like one of yours as our tag team. Mark Davis being one of British Wrestling Spirit's alum. Good to see him find his feet and have something to get into. I really enjoyed that squash on Collision this week of the GCW Geeks, and they were presented well on last week's Dynamite on the 4-way as well.
Oh, completely, yeah. And like you said, it is good that Mark Davis has finally found something, a niche he can fit into. I know they've not been around for that long, but as a tag team, you want a couple of big hoss guys, beat the shit out of everybody, who aren't afraid of losing a couple of matches every now and again, who can come out and hurt people without, and also lose matches. But I mean, they looked great, didn't they? And that's what you want them doing, going around squashing everybody. It seems a big match for him to be having on Dynamite already. I think I'd rather them be just doing a few more squash matches before they get sort of like a bigger team like FTO. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Tekla, though, that promo she did last week was spitting in the camera, and I thought that was absolutely
she's
fantastic.
Got something,
yeah, big time. And obviously, as Julia Hart looks fantastic in her entrance, and then the bell rings, and same sort of like with Sky Blue. But as a team, with her sort of like bringing them up, I feel like that's the best way if you are going to have them around the scene with her doing the talking and things like that. Yeah, and she's been great, great addition to that. I was a bit unsure. I was like, oh, is it just all the is it just all sort of like the gimmick and something a bit different? But yeah, she's been great. It's really come on in these promos, especially considering English as a second language.
Yeah, and the other two stood in front of her like Russian dolls. Maybe not so much for talking when a penny is put in the back of them, but it almost actually, in a way, it does make her look better because she's chewing scenery, walking around, showing personality. Like Ewan says there, she is money, and like you said, it's not a first language. So the fact that you can get that charisma over, despite maybe not fully speaking the language, says everything. It's another reason I'm always back into Keshta, and would not like to see him ever bump him for Billy Gunn again if Tony Khan is listening, based on last week's Collision. When money there, it's obvious. But yeah, Statlander has been boring as women's champion. I agree with you in the chat there as well. And,
which is a shame because I did enjoy Statlander. Sort of like obviously, definitely the two matches she had with Mercedes Moné, not last year, the year before, and I always really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's just not clicked, has it? As champion, and the matches are sort of going downhill, and I don't know how they can sort of turn this around really.
It's one of those things, isn't it? You can't, again, it goes to the belt conversation. You can't just put a belt on somebody and think it's going to get them over and then not have follow-up. Like, she wasn't booked to the point that she should have been women's champion, and she's not been booked like it since, and that's, testament to the fact that belts aren't a solution to everything, which is unfortunately a belief of Tony Khan there. But no, agree with the chat. We need to move on and belt up Tekla, no H. I will say apologies if I butchered that once again on there. But the only other AEW note I had, we've got some news we'll go through into at the end. Quick news story I'll throw in. We should mention it, Martin, just to make sure that everybody knows that it is fake news and it's not happening. Apparently, Gallus, who were backstage at AEW last week. Again, AEW was in Florida. Baron Corbin was backstage and got himself a booking, Martin Stone was backstage, speaking of Brit Res wrestlers, and he got himself a booking as well. It's just going to happen when a wrestling company's in Florida. Apparently, cold water has been thrown on that one, mate. So I did think that might be our lead story tonight, that the Gallus have signed with AEW, but it apparently turns out to not be the case, and apparently Tony Khan and AEW aren't interested.
Oh, wow. I'm not religious, Benno, but fucking hallelujah. Could you imagine? Jesus. Gallus, that's what I was referring to earlier when we reviewed that show. How many years ago was that? Like 5-6 years ago with
Honestly.
Joe, when Joe Coffey was main eventing Takeover, and we're like, he has got no place at a main event. Gallus, you had some choice comments about Wolfgang, which we all agreed with, and who was the
should
big
be pulling
fan of
pints,
Gallus?
shouldn't he, rather than wrestling? Let's all be honest.
Well, exactly, yeah. And he runs a pub as well, so he should stick to doing that, shouldn't he? Or
stay away from schools.
Bar or whatever the fuck he had. Yeah. And if Shawn Michaels and Triple H were so behind him and they can't get anywhere in WWE, that fucking tells you it all, don't you? When the two guys who can make or break your career are so behind you and you're not... because they came out, didn't they, and said, we were supposed to be doing something with Drew and maybe forming a faction with Drew, but then all the Punk stuff happened, so CM Punk ruined it all for us. And I'm like, no, mate, if it was going to happen, it would have fucking happened. Because, they've got a War Games every fucking November or December or whenever it is. And you're telling me they couldn't have pulled the trigger on that and had you guys backing up Drew for a War Games match or some kind of multi-man match or anything like that. And if they'd wanted to do it, they would have done it. And fucking Top Knots, mate. I know I ain't got any hair, but fucking when did Top Knots go out of fashion? About fucking 10 years ago. Come on.
Again?
It's just, I had a look and I was like, when was the last time they actually wrestled? And I think maybe one appearance for ICW and then some promotion in Fife. Perhaps Eddie can tell us more about that one, maybe. But in front of like 200 people, and they can't even draw like a big house when they go back to home soil, these WWE superstars. But they're going to be most famous for being the Rock's tune-up guys now, aren't they? And having bad matches on NXT. And you don't want to kick people when they're down, but when it's Gallus, I don't mind doing it.
It's fine, isn't it? They should put that photo on like the posters, like Ewan saying here. Yeah, apparently the book is big stars for Slam Masters in Cardiff, and it's got ex WWE stars on the marquee. That's a stretch, but I guess we can go with that. A bit like ex WWE star Primate turning up on Gladiators this week, doing some heavy lifting. Ex WWE superstar is there, and when you're talking about people like this, but they are honestly you're absolutely right. They couldn't have had friends in higher places. The Rock, Shawn Michaels, who I'm honestly shocked if somebody told me, Benno, you've just missed it because you don't watch NXT. With apologies to Davey and Braden, and it actually Gallus is still active on NXT. They're on every week. Didn't you see them last week? I'd believe that because Shawn Michaels loved them so fucking much that inexplicably they were on NXT TV longer than even the grizzled young veterans were in their spooky goth outfit and all of everything that was going on with them. They had everything. They had none of the skill, none of the charisma, none of the overness, but all of the connections that got them keep them being booked. So thank God there's nobody at AEW that's pulling for them like Shawn Michaels was, because I couldn't live through there any more of that. Apparently Coffey's essentially taking over ICW.
Yeah, I was just reading
Dave
that,
in the chat there.
And Wolfgang returned and was immediately given a belt.
There you go. Leave them there. It's where they belong. Modern day ICW.
And that's why ICW is fear and loathing that once ran the Hydro and did these big numbers with Drew and Grado on top is now running the garage in Glasgow. So there you go. I think that's all you need to know about ICW in 2026.
Can I ask, by the way, did you watch Primate on Gladiators? I haven't seen it. I just seen our Discord going up in flames when it happened. What culture pro wrestling alumni? There's a news story up there. I looked it up when he retired. Apparently, he retired in 2018, and the opening to the story said that the former wrestler Primate speaks out about his retirement. You might want to put those words into your Google and see what comes up. But surprised me that he was on primetime BBC. I will say.
Yeah, I'd watched I watched Gladiator Series 1 and 2, but I've not had a chance to check this one out. And then I thought, obviously, because I was doing the show, best check it out. Yeah, and they briefly mentioned it. They were more talking about his gym in Newcastle or whatever. But fuck me, he looked small on there. He looked really small next to, I mean, he was never the biggest guy anyway, but he looked small next to the Gladiators. And even the guy he was taking on, he lost in the final. I think he tripped over and fell on the travelator, which is always amusing, isn't it? But yeah, he looked really small out there. And he was never like the greatest wrestler anyway. Apparently, I saw him. I was looking, I was like, I can't remember ever seeing this guy. I must have seen him on Red Pro or Progress or something, doing a Defiant show in Sheffield against Penta. And I was like, what the fuck?
Brit Res needed killing. There's your argument. Fucking hell. A real match that happened.
On that show, you had a banger. It was Ricochet and Angelico against War Machine. Absolute banger. And then, yeah, no memory of Penta and...
That's funny.
It's where Red Pro run now, the nightclub in Sheffield. But, yeah, no memory of that one. But...
I do remember going to the Defiant show as the one that Ospreay, it was Ospreay Walter. I almost said Gunther then. I almost fell for the propaganda. Great match. Matty will lie to you today and tell you he wasn't up out of his seat loving it. I was saying that Gunther was his wrestler of the year last year before it was Dominic Mysterio. So I'm sure he did great. But I was remembering getting a photo with Primate and Primate making fun of Matty's iPhone 1 or whatever they had there back in those days. But hey ho, it was a very different world back then, as you can probably tell from people involved. But there we go. But that's it. I haven't watched any Gladiators. My mum did actually ask me the other day when I was in here. Like the advert came and said, "I remember when you used to watch this when you was a kid." I was like, "Yeah, I watched it 2 years ago when they made the reunion too. I haven't grown out of any of this stuff, Mum. You should know this by now." But yeah, great memories. It was. Do you agree with us? Like we said on UK Rampage, it was our Brit Res. We didn't. It was our wrestling. We didn't have. We couldn't do American wrestling as good as the Americans, but we could do Gladiators as good as the Americans, if not better.
Oh, yeah, it was better because I remember, I think someone at my school when Gladiators was the big thing, weren't it? ITV, and we all loved it and everything. Shadow, the master of the pugil stick or whatever, yeah, and before he got done with cocaine or whatever.
Explained what was going on in those eyes because it was scary, wasn't it?
Oh, I know. Yeah, and someone at my school, I think you could buy a tape of the best of American Gladiators or whatever from Woolworths for $5, and mate got with that, and we turned it off after like half an hour. We're like, oh, this is crap compared to the UK one. It's just it looked like sort of like WBF with pugil sticks. It looked a bit shit, but ours was like legit because they weren't all like, they were more sort of like fitness people, weren't they? Like sort of like trainers at gyms and stuff. They weren't sort of like, I know a few of them looked a bit muscly. Hunter, I'm looking at you. No wonder Rick Johnson was all over that. But yeah, and obviously, I mean, Jet was coming of age for a lot of us young men in England. Yeah,
next to Tammy Sitch, they were both on the wall.
and your dad as well. Yeah, he suddenly became interested in Gladiators, didn't he?
One for the dads. No, I agree. Yeah. Like when people do like a UK Gladiators, like Ewan says, there should be a documentary. We should do a deep cut. We should do like season 1 and go back and watch Fashion New and Eureka Johnson and get into it that way. Because nothing but good memories. And you're right, it's like Traitors. It's one of those things we just do better than the rest of the world. Like I don't know what it is. We don't have the glitz and glamour. We had that little bit of bit of Claudia in there, and we get the lighting quite right, and we make it work, and we don't have all these celebrities and pomp and circumstance that the Americans can't help but add. Maybe there's a lesson there for Brit Res. I don't know, but yeah, I think that's two of our claims to fame.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, and also loads of Brit Res because Wesley Naresco did really well on the.
Of course,
yeah. So
still mad Red Pro didn't book him.
Oh yeah, all the yeah. I mean, that was because these shows that Red Pro doing like Portsmouth and that are like the family friendly ones. That was the perfect booking for him there, surely, but. Yeah, what could have been, but since he did so well on there and got that popularity, you can assume that there's going to be loads of Brit Res people applying for it now. I might see one of the Coffey brothers on there next series. You never know.
Wouldn't shock, yeah. Scottish Gladiators could be coming soon. On that note, we've got some questions related to that to get into before I close up with some news. We've got a few on the Discord and a couple on the Patreon page as well. But I'll start off with one from Danny here. He asks, when was the last time an angle truly excited you on wrestling TV? And he says he finds WWE and AEW TV so pink by numbers seems so important these days. He's gone from staying up for most Dynamites to skipping it most weeks in a matter of a few years. Does sound like a familiar story. Maybe if I didn't have a wrestling podcast, I don't know how much I'd be keeping up with Collision these days. Never mind Dynamite. There is definitely weeks where I'm not reviewing it, like this week, where I wonder when I will get round to to watching it. And this week's show was fun. There's a Kenny Omega Rocky Romero match I didn't mention earlier, unfortunately, but got Moxley on there as well. It has been a solid TV run over the last while. It just hasn't been the most exciting. I don't know. Can you remember what was the last angle that truly grabbed you that AEW ran?
You go first while I ever think about it.
I would probably have to go. I don't want to go as far back as like the Punk run, but I feel like honestly, like Punk Eddie Kingston is like the last one on AEW TV that like sent my blood rushing. I'm trying to think like surely there's been other Eddie Kingston ones, because I feel like Eddie Kingston's the one wrestler left who can do that to me and get me kind of going and get me moving when it comes to either his promos or his angles. Not necessarily in recent vintage since his comeback, but I'd like to hope you don't have to go back that far. Like the other one that came to mind, and I feel like I probably panned it on a podcast the week of, so I can't really hand on heart say it, is Hangman Page and Swerving, the burning down of the house and all of that stuff. Like there was
half of it
that we
hated
and half of it that we loved. It was a bit like when the Hardys first started doing, the stupid stuff in the back garden and all that, and we can, if we're all honest with ourselves, yes, we laughed at it, and yes, it became cringe, but I think there was a point where it was actually good as well, or good in a bad way. That was kind of one of those, good in a bad way, and it did work despite itself. But outside of that, like, there's matches surely, but angle-wise, like, nothing else is coming to mind unless the chatter's got anything.
Yeah, it's mainly matches, isn't it? But I suppose obviously Mariah May and Toni Storm with the
there you go. Yeah, my feud of the year this year. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that one, Martin. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, would you class that as an angle with Brian getting the bag over his head and things?
On a pay-per-view though, that's why I left that one out. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of didn't really go anywhere. Really, did it? But yeah, I mean, that was. I didn't realize you guys had slated that, but the burning down of the house was fantastic, because I fucking bought it, mate. When they were like, I was like, oh, Swerve's bought his childhood home or whatever for his mother or whatever, and then because it just flashed up, I was at work or whatever, it flashed up.
Random tweet, one.
Nice little story, yeah, and they didn't build it up or anything. Yeah, that was a cracking angle, but recently, it's hard to think, isn't it?
I'd say Tony Mariah's
company 5-star matches, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, but maybe it says something about, because obviously there was a lot of Moxley angles we panned earlier in the year, but it was less about the angles, wasn't it? Once things started going, at least the TV angles, I can't think of a particular one, as much as I ended up loving that story over the year. Maybe a couple of the Hangman promos in the build to it kind of got my juices flowing, but I do agree with the overall point. There is it feels like there's a malaise, and it was definitely on both sides at the tail end of last year. Like I say, WWE's been good for 3 weeks, so we're back and we're turning things around, but it felt like that from the WWE side as well. There wasn't much to get excited about tail end of last year. So, yeah, hopefully they can pull the trigger on a few more money angles. Let us know in the comments or the chat if there's any we missed. But
I think there'll be more coming up February, March time, though, won't there? That's when you get your big angles leading into, perhaps when we get the Death Riders turning on Mox and, whatever's going to happen, whoever's going to face MJF in March and things like that. That's when you're going to get your big angles. And you need to, you can't be having them on every fucking Dynamite, can you?
No, that's true. Although it does, like you said at the top, beg the question of why we're going 12 weeks before the next pay-per-view. But AEW calendar's got an AEW calendar. Zahid asks, what do you think Rev Pro could headline Wembley with, realistically? He also asks, are New Japan slightly screwed with all their talent leaving? I was going to do a news roundup at the end. I'll keep that brief now, or maybe leave some for the lads tomorrow on weekend show. But obviously, Evil leaving is now confirmed, Martin. What are they ever going to do? But obviously, there are others. Sanada taking his time off as well is not one that I'm going to be crying tears out. Pretty much all LIJ are gone now, aren't they? Obviously, Hiromu rumored to be leaving. The likes of Dan Maloney, Dave Finlay, looking like they're on the way out. I don't know if it's a negative with a lot of those names. It's never a good look when you're losing a lot of talent. And I think someone like a David Finlay is one where you go, yeah, they could do something with him this year. But I don't know, getting rid of a lot of the dead weight and being forced to go with new people. Worst things have happened to wrestling promotions over the years. Like I always link things back to ROH, but obviously the ROH losing a lot of the talent to TNA for good cause in the mid 2000s led to other guys being able to step up. Look at the Attitude Era. Attitude Era doesn't happen, as we talked about on Benno and Hamlet, without Sean and Brett stepping out the way and making room. I'm not saying these guys are Sean and Brett, but I think there's an argument there too that maybe fresher faces is a positive in all regards there, depending on who really it is that leave. Gabe Kidd would be a big loss, obviously.
Oh, great for New Japan. Yeah, I mean, Gabe Kidd would be a huge loss for him. But I mean, as far as Evil and Naito and that, I mean, they've outstayed their welcome, haven't they? And they're welcome to go and live in Orlando and join NXT. I mean, what was the name that's been muted for Evil? There seems to be a WWE have trademarked some kind of name, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's surely going to be Evil's name." I can't remember it off the top of my head now.
Rubble, awful. It's a bit like remember when it was Dick in GPW did the angle where they had the Evil Dick Feel Good. It was Dick Feel Good, Dick Feel Bad, and Dick Feel Worse. I feel like they'll come up with some kind of name like that for Evil. Probably won't be good. Any thoughts on RevPro? What they could realistically headline Wembley with? I don't think we should expect much AEW assistance, but like from that the homegrown roster, or from maybe what they could get, maybe for stealing and borrowing.
Who knows what the roster's going to look like?
Leon Slater's big goodbye.
I mean, you'd hope so. The rumor is Sinister.
Oku Newman again.
Chris Elliott says the rumored name for Evil is Sinister. So there you go. Thanks for Chris.
Couldn't make it up, could you? Sinister Minister version 2.
Oh God. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm struggling on what Red Pro. I mean, Wembley Arena. It's oof. I mean, you were hoping it was going to be Leon Slater against Ospreay or someone like that, a big match to do that. But if Ospreay's going to have to concentrate.
AJ Styles
to do with the show. Oh yeah,
there you go.
AJ Styles, yeah, we get the proper.
He always wants to work Wembley Arena. Yeah. Don't tell me if he has already. There you go. There's one for him. Yeah. Zack Sabre Jr., Jay Joshua.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah.
One called Manders getting involved in the main event scene.
I mean, one call Manders isn't going to sell many tickets for Wembley, is he? I mean, but Zack Sabre Jr. definitely will. I do like one call Manders, but he's not.
Me too.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what names? You need the horses to pull the cart, don't you? And it's.
No obvious direction, you would say in the chat. Will Cooling, I don't know if you recognise that name, asks on the Patreon, that the British wrestling experience was well known for champion Scottish wrestlers. So are you hoping for a Gallus run in AEW? No, we're not, Will. Fuck off. There we go.
Oh, our worst ever review.
He got us our worst review.
It was a 1-star review because we continuously had Will Cooling on who hated Scottish people.
There was a point where people were scared he was going to become a permanent co-host on there. We didn't in the end, but yeah, we had some great guests.
We love you.
With Will, we did. He was our favourite guest. Let's say that. We always enjoyed having Will on. Over on the Discord, a couple of questions to throw in. Obviously, the Nagita Negra asked whatever happened to Ollie. Like I say, follow him on Instagram. Ollie Court Jester, still doing well, as we said that at the top. Ewan asks so he's got 3 BW related questions. Number 1, do you think it was the right time to end it when you did? Number 2, what was your favourite episode of the show? And number 3, would you ever bring it back as a one-off special to cover something like All In Weekend? Let's start with the first one. Was it the right call to end it, Martin? After Andy carried especially me for 6 months.
Yeah, I think I said at the top, didn't I? I think we probably carried it on a bit too long, didn't we? So there was some weeks we were really, we turned it monthly at that point, haven't we? And we were really struggling to find things to talk about, or that, you've got to remember our remit wasn't just like British people, was it? It was like we were on post, so it was like an international audience sort of thing. So it was.
Well, we covered Irish wrestling as well, obviously. Remember that was never an issue.
No, well, I think there's a question from someone in the Discord we'll talk about in a minute. But I think we, like Benno said, we carried it on because we enjoyed chatting with each other and catching up on a monthly basis and things. But obviously, you had all the grapple commitments. It was becoming harder and harder to find where the things to talk about. And, Andy did a great job of filling in the gaps for us because we weren't going to shows every week and things like that. And he did a great job. And but yeah, it's time to call it an end. I don't think a reunion. I think it's probably just me randomly coming on here, or you coming on with me and Andrew if we do our Christmas shows and things like that. That's much of a reunion as you're ever going to get. I mean, we did the big reunion, didn't we, when we did the last episode? And we had James, Ollie, Andy, me, and you, and that was remember Way sending me. It was all the Power Rangers putting their fists together, and he was like, "Oh, that's how I felt listening to that." And I was like, "Oh yeah, well, it
the right way to end."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's like you don't want to bring these things back. It's never good when you do they bring these things back. Is it?
No.
What was?
And we never
question?
get James near a British flag again. So
no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because we got him in the first place.
I always regret British Audio Wrestling was a cracking name. British Wrestling Experience, I'll always say I named that. I also named Will's podcast, the British Wrestling Report, over on PW Touch. That was my idea as well. Rewind the UK was right there, Martin. Why did we not do it? Like, it was right there. Rewind the UK and Ireland, it could have been, eh?
Yeah.
We'll come back to just to do that, to bring it back.
I think initially we'd settled on was it European Uppercut was the initial. There was already some fucking podcast that was already called that, and then luckily they didn't want to give the name up, so I was like, but I think we thank God we didn't do that one.
As we said at the top, it doesn't matter what you call it, it becomes normal by the end. There you go. It works out. Do you have a favorite episode you can think of? The specials come to mind, obviously, don't they? Obviously the transfer window when Jamesy picked Kane in Spain.
Yeah, I mean that's number one that everyone remembers, isn't it?
Yeah. Like proper episodes though. I'm trying to think, like big reviews we did, or big. I think the speaking out shows we did at the time. I was proud of the work we did there, obviously. Emma coming on and having a few other different guests coming on. I think that was, a hard period, but like, not a rewarding period either, but, something to be proud of looking back.
Yeah, definitely. And oh my God, I can remember messaging Way and John like every day, like, oh, do you think it's okay to say this? What about this? And what about that? And Way was just like, it's because none of us come into this thing to talk about really hard subjects, but obviously watching wrestling, these things are going to come up and stuff. It's not like we get paid for this, or it's I mean, we weren't getting paid for BW, that's for certain. And to talk about these really hard subjects that have affected so many people, and it was really tricky. And I do think we did. I mean, we obviously made some mistakes and things like that, and we mentioned a few too many names on there that have got done libelous or whatever, but.
Yeah, I've got to edit this show already, mate. You got me back in trouble again.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I think we did. We did well with that. And then also, like you said, the specials when we used to do the yearly roundups. James would read out all the dickhead tweets from the year, and then we do get in the bin. I remember one of my favourite ones was when we all threw Jimmy Havoc in the bin. Long before he got cancelled. So I think we're ahead of the curve there, throwing Jimmy Havoc in the bin and all that sort of stuff. Getting Joe and JP on, and that was always a lot of fun. And then we had to have Andy for the sort of like reports on what was going on, sort of like in Let's Look That Brit. Yeah, there were a lot of good episodes.
Oh yeah, he used to do the we had like the audio clip, didn't we, of Andy on each episode? I forgot about that. Yeah, when we'd have like was it the Graps and Claps corner or something like that? The Brit Res corner. On the shows. Oh, totally memory hold that. Yeah, there we go. I think any time, like you say, when the Power Rangers came together, when we had like Joe on, or we had JP on, or like I think we had Martin then, Freudian slip, Gareth on a couple of times. Don't think Matty ever did the BWE, unfortunately.
That was before my time, that weren't it? Yeah, he was just Benno's mate, who he sometimes brings up. Yeah, it was long before.
You'd laugh at me for having a podcast.
Yeah.
Look at where we are now, eh? Hey, look at it. That's what happens. But they were always the fun ones, yeah. So some good ones there, yeah. Andy saying there he typed out scripts for those 15-minute slots. It was always good stuff. So yeah, I look back on it fondly, but I'm with you, Martin. I don't think we could reasonably bring it back now. But maybe never say never. Maybe there could be a special one day.
And thanks, Chris. Appreciate the comments there, yeah, mate. Really appreciate it. But yeah. I mean, the specials were the best ones, weren't they? The transfer windows, the takeover specials. We had a good laugh doing them. Remember when we did infamously, me and you recorded, there was a takeover and it was New Japan at the Copper Box, and there was only me and you who weren't there, so I think we recorded a show that night as well, didn't we? Because
people like bringing that up, don't they? That I wasn't there. Yeah. Bart wasn't there either, folks. It wasn't just me. But yeah, good times, but also tough times at points as well. But good memories there. But yeah, taking us back to the last couple of questions we got here. Speaking of Matty, Legita Negra asks, can Martin be the negotiator for the Matty/Tunnel Talk crossover that needs to happen? Can we make it happen, Martin?
Oh wow, yeah, I would love to make that happen. I don't quite know how that show would go. I mean, as well as Grapple and Post, like Tunnel Talk's like one of my favorite podcasts, but it's very much, and I think they'd admit it, very much in its own universe and its own lane. And yeah, I mean, that meeting of minds between them and Matty would be absolutely fantastic. I mean, they don't watch WWE, so I mean, Matty would be lost halfway through, I guess. But
that'd be the fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be a great meeting of minds. Perhaps The Bushby and Thompson Christmas show, if that happens this year, we'll make that happen. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Tunnel Talk, fantastic. Really irreverent look at guys who haven't really, only been watching wrestling sort of like the past 3 or 4 years, and they make their own niche in it, and it's something very unique in a very saturated thing, much like Grapple, Benno. So yeah, top marks them, top marks you, guy.
I'm a big fan of Social Suplex, obviously, over there, Tunnel Talk, being Tristan Sarah podcast. I know Tristan Sarah have done stuff with yourself as well. They do cracking stuff as well as Sam with his.
Trish would be a great person on one of these lives. I think like YouTube have some good discussions if that ever can happen.
We had some on Twitter. That might be why it might not be a good idea, but it also might be a reason it is a good idea. But
right, I've been off Twitter, so I missed all that. Right.
Look, mate, it's my fault. I'll take the blame. I caused a lot of trouble back in the day. Again, that was the thing. I used to like the match, and Martin would have to deal with the fire. That does continue on into present day, unfortunately. But a lot of respect for what they do over there. Great shows. But going on from there onto the Discord. What else have we got? Answered that one. Has Martin booked his tickets for an evening with Denise Van Outen? Have you done that?
I have not, mate, but I want someone from the wrestling world to go and do that, because I saw her on a TV show promoting this thing, and they said, is there going to be a Q&A? And she was like, yeah, and you can ask me whatever you want. And I was like, well, how do we find out the last days of Yokozuna's life from Denise Van Outen's mouth? I'm sure JP would be all over that. But no, I will not be spending 50 quid or whatever just to find that information out.
What was she? What was going on there with Yokozuna in Liverpool at the local hotel? I bet you she's got the inside scoop. Could be the one, but yeah, we'll send JP instead. And yeah, great one to end on. Rosatron asks, biggest Brit Res knobhead in the DMs, please. And for balance, did anyone ever be gracious about anything you said? I mean, I'll start off, Martin. Joe Coffey. I'll just say his name. I remember I was having an argument with someone on Twitter. It doesn't sound like me. And randomly, Joe Coffey just dived into my DMs and was like, what are you saying to me, mate? Like you're in a pub and he's like shielding his friend. I didn't even know who this guy was. He was just some random Scottish bloke who was probably arguing about ICW with, or ITV World of Sport, or NXT UK or something like that. And he was just so weird and off-putting, because in the end, like, Coffee kind of calmed down, and then he was like sending me pictures of himself watching like the NWO Wolfpack DVD or something. And it was just like, it was just weird. It was strange more than it was like, a knobhead one, although we did come in there two-footed, which has happened a few times in my life. Usually I end up friends with those people, though. It's kind of out of respect his end. Like I always say with me and Hamflet. I went in two-footed on Hamflet on Twitter once, and look at us now. Look where we are years later. So, I'll take that. Any ones you we're not behind the paywall, but any you want to mention in public?
Yeah, I think it was you who got most of the defamation claims, and you'll be hearing from my solicitors.
Statute of limitations, mate. They only have a year. Yeah. Fuck, we're all right. We're safe again.
I mean, that was always like, do you know how hard it is to prove this stuff anyway? Yeah, in court. So and they haven't got the big money lawyers that WWE have. I mean, the big one was obviously John and Wade got the big money lawyers, so we always hid behind them. The big one was obviously that fucking slabhead Devlin, weren't he? When he was like, I mean, that wasn't even in the DMs. He just put that picture up when we'd reviewed OTT or whatever, and he put like flags of people's faces, and then put like a questioning, like, oh, and then was it OTT themselves, Cabrera or whoever ran their account, was like, we aren't British, we're Irish, and then but luckily all the Irish, all the true, the non-wrestling Irish community got behind us, didn't they? And went, stop being such dickheads. They're giving you loads of things. I think someone sent John Wayne an email once saying that they were going to be hearing from the solicitor. I can't remember who that was, but that was all a storm in a teacup. But John Wayne were like, we're not even taking this seriously. But
from our show, I didn't know that.
I think that was no, that was from a tweet I put out one time. It was some dickhead who rang. Can't even remember his name now, but Andy Q like completely slated him. He was the guy basically who I think he got a load of money from the Princess Trust, and he ran a show and he had AJ and Tanahashi and people like that on it. He didn't sell that well, and then he fetched a load more people over, and that's what became Global Wars. Because he booked all these people for a show and then couldn't make good for the show. So Andy Q had to step in and go, well, I normally just wanted to filter Japanese people in, but I guess I'll go with that. Yeah, I think I'd tweeted something about him being an idiot, and he emailed John Way saying like, "Oh, I'm going to be suing you unless a full and frank apology is given." And John Way were like, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah, there's a name there in the chat. We won't say it out loud, but I think
we
right.
won't say it out loud because he'll come for us. Yeah, I think he's threatened violence against Sandy Q. He's even said it all on a podcast anyway. But yeah,
Dave O'Neill says there in the chat, remember him coming in 2-footed on me on Twitter. Yes, I do remember Dave, and I'm glad we're best friends now. I'm glad there was times behind us. We all ended up on the right. It's funny that most of the people, Dave included, who I had the biggest arguments with on Twitter, and there's a number of them, and I know some of them are. We all end up on the same side in the end, and we all ended up kind of agreeing. I don't know if that necessarily goes for some of the promoters I'd have grief with, but I wonder. Slide into my DMs and let me know otherwise. But that was going to be my answer to the other question, like, what are positive memories of people coming to you? And honestly, you can't trust wrestling people, because I think the people being nice to you are being nice for a reason. If you're in our position and you're doing a podcast where you're giving honest opinions on wrestling, if the wrestlers and the promoters like you, you're doing a bad job. Like, that is just that's something I've learned over the years, because we had Glenn Joseph, getting him a DMs at one point trying to buddy up to me. Glad they didn't take that bait, obviously, with what came. Travis Banks was another one who, was saying maybe he agreed with some of the criticism we said about his booking in certain promotions. See how that one turned out. Yeah, I don't have many good memories of wrestlers trying to butter us up. I don't know if you've got any, Martin.
No, yeah, I mean, we did have a few, didn't we? But it's names you don't really want to mention anymore. There were a few like that and things like that. And and like you said, you don't really want to 100% trust anything a wrestler says. Top of my head, it was there were a few bits and bobs here and there, but no one you really want to sort of bring up now anyway, because
No. Maybe I'm forgetting. We've got a couple who were patrons, and they're great blokes, and I love them. And they're the true good ones in British wrestling. But outside of that, never trust a promoter, never trust a wrestler. That's my that's my biggest lesson. But outside of that, like I say, I had a couple of extra news bits I was going to mention. We talked the Evil story to throw in there. Tommaso Ciampa apparently is putting some new merchandise together for his post WWE run. Did you see him landing anywhere good? It's AEW, innit? I think Jim Ross is right. He'll be on Collision next week. That's coming.
I like Ciampa when he was sort of doing the indies, and when he sort of did a load of stuff over here, and obviously DIY when they were first together. But does anyone need to see any more epic matches from Tommaso Ciampa? I don't know. Has he got anything else to offer these days? Not for me.
He can give you a good match, but so can every other wrestler on Collision, You could literally put the AEW roster into a Royal Rumble style tumbler and just put random matches on Collision every week, and they'd be good, wouldn't they? It's just the roster's so stacked that I don't think you need them. But Davey was making the argument for them last week. Maybe that could be a thing. Speaking of other talents, I'll leave the obviously Grand Slam Australia story for Matty and Garrett tomorrow. And MJF's apparently working House of Glory. That's good. Good to see Hook working Indies as well. Killer Kelly leaving TNA, and obviously Kit Wilson's been in the news as well. Wants to be the next WWE champion. I wanted to mention them while I had you on, mate. Any thoughts on them? Where could Killer Kelly land up? She's one where she was definitely someone when we were covering the broader European scene. We all saw her a big future in the TNA run. Didn't really lead to much. I'd like to see her somewhere proper, get an AEW run, get a proper WWE run at some point rather than an NXT UK. Could be something.
Yeah, she was always. Yeah, she was. I feel like she just. Obviously, there was a lot of WXW stuff, weren't there? But I feel like she just came just as a Brit Rest boom was sort of over, and she sort of came around sort of when it was on the downswing. So bad timing on that front. But yeah, I always enjoyed her. But honestly, until this news story came out, I'd even forgotten about her, because obviously she's been locked away in TNA for 4 years, and I've not watched any TNA really. So I'd forgotten she existed. But I mean, I've not seen her in 4 years, and obviously, congratulations to her and Myron Reed. They've had a child in is it the past sort of 6 months or so, or a year or whatever. I mean, going off what I used to see, and she always had a great look, great intensity, and always used to put on decent matches. So yeah, I'm sure she could offer something to some promotions.
There you go, maybe. And Kit Wilson, have you been shocked by his rise in WWE? Thinks he's going to be the next world champion here. It's just an entrance team, isn't it? I saw it on the European shows last week, and I was like, that's a cute little thing for him, but he'll be back to the tag division as soon as what's the other one called?
I'm surprised you've even got as far as that, having a sort of big entrance, because they were definitely one of those ones who were too much too soon, weren't it? It was they did about 3 or 4 Progress shows, or was it Red Pro, and then they were on NXT UK, and then they were whisked off to Orlando, and it was like, wow, this is one of them ones where it's like, oh, these are way too soon for these guys, yeah. So fair play to even having a memorable entrance over, but yeah, I mean, he's going to say he wants to be champion, and he's not going to go else in an interview.
That's what they got to, like, literally Progress. I went to that Progress Manchester show when I saw them for the first time, and literally I was on B2B like, oh, these two are great, they're going to be stars, and then they were on NXT UK about 3 weeks later, and that is the problem when you don't let people season a little bit and get a little bit more work, but there we go. Maybe. Do you reckon to this day Joe knows the difference between Pretty Deadly and the Pretty Bastards? I don't. I bet he doesn't even remember that. But that was always a good running bit on our shows. Other quick news notes, to get your thoughts on this. The Rock missing out on Best Actor for The Smashing Machine, which only got one Oscar and all. I think it was for some kind of production award, wasn't it, in the end? Did you see The Smashing Machine? And does it make it seem likely he's coming back to wrestling?
I think it's more than likely he's coming back to wrestling because he's obviously put all this into it and he wanted to get them nominations. Didn't get a Golden Globe nomination, not going to get a BAFTA nom, didn't get an Oscar nom. I mean, it was all right, wasn't it? I mean, he was good in it. He looked the part, but it was just, if you'd seen the documentary, you'd seen the film, hadn't you? And it was just more like, oh, well, Dwayne's doing serious acting. But he's always, I mean, if you go back way when he first started acting, he was like the best thing in Be Cool. Like, remember that it was the sequel to Get Shorty, and he was like one of the best things in that, and he was up against sort of like your Rene Russo's and people like that. So he has always had that in him to be sort of like, do sort of like good acting and things. But yeah, I mean, it was just a rehash of the documentary for me. Decent performances. I don't know what hold he's got over Emily Blunt, but she loves working with The Rock, doesn't she? Did the Jungle Cruise together? They've done that together. I think there's rumors they're doing other films together and things. And she's like, A-lister actress, isn't she? So, and she didn't have a great deal to do in the film, but I'm surprised she'll be turning scripts down left, right, and centre. So I was surprised that she picked something with so little substance. But I'm not surprised to see him not get an Oscar nomination. I think there were too strong this year. There were too many people in there, and it was always going to be a race between Chalamet and Leonardo DiCaprio for me. So
wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I reckon with Dwayne, I can just see it. He's going to get this serious actor stuff out of his system, and if his heart will allow it, he'll be back on the steg, and by the end of the year, there'll be another Fast and Furious announced. Actually, that's my hope. That's my dream. Fingers crossed.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you. What is the latest on Fast and Furious?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh,
right.
They ended the last one, didn't they? It was part Fast and Furious 10 part 1 of 2, and like reintroduced all these characters in the end credits. Eva Mendes, Dwayne Johnson, everyone's coming back from Gal Gadot's coming back from the dead. And then I think the studio realized, we have to pay all these wages. And also, it's always a bad sign, isn't it, when it's half a film but they didn't shoot it, not like Kill Bill part 1, volume 1 and volume 2. Like, obviously they shot it all at once and then just released it as 2 parts. Now they were going to get the entire production team back together to make the second half of a film. Like, I don't think it's ever happening. I think it's going to be left on the too hard to do pile, and maybe we'll get like a reduced cast, like just the core family members film or something like that. But they've got so many loose ends to tie up that it makes almost that impossible as well. I honestly think we might live in a world where there won't be another Fast and Furious, and it makes me cry tears at night as much as I'm sure it doesn't make WH.
According to this, it is still scheduled for April 2027. So. I suppose that's the thing with these big franchises now. I'm just looking now. Only made 714 million, and if these big franchises don't make $1 billion, the studios start getting a bit wavy now. Even though 740 million is still a shit ton of money, and they probably want Justin Lin to come back again, don't they? And he's like, guys, I'm doing other projects. Never does a guy just done something for money. You can see he's so over Fast and Furious now.
It meant so much. You could tell as well, but he was like the beating heart of it. Like, it meant like the whole hand stuff. Like, it all meant something to him, all the characters and that. And then, I think he came back and full on wrestling. The Booker didn't get up with the big star, and Vin Diesel was pulling too much creative control. I can't see him ever going back. Maybe they make it with AI, as Chris Elliott says. Like I say, we have the technology now to bring Paul Walker back. So maybe we'll get there.
Oh, God.
We'll do it. But
don't give him any ideas. Fucking hell.
There you go. JP will be executive producer. But moving on from there is our and finally story from the news. WWE 2K 2026 has been announced, and I've got to throw it up on screen for you, Martin. As a few people, eagle-eyed people, have noticed every single version of this that they put out so far has got one man on it, and it doesn't stop there. As it says here on the big image, the show never stops. The King of Kings edition of 2K26 has been announced with yet another version of Triple H on the cover. We are literally Spider-Man meme away from literally every incarnation of Triple H, from his boring mid-90s run through to DX, through to 2000, through to wobbly knee, through to steroid era, through to whatever he was for the last 20 years. Like, that's probably the next one coming here. Like, what is going on? He doesn't like camera time, mate. He doesn't like the attention. He doesn't like the focus. He wants to let the roster be the real draws here. Fuck me. It's basically Triple H the game, it feels like this year.
Ridiculous. Yeah, and he needs to stop fucking blagging that he's got nothing to do with this, because this is fucking ridiculous, isn't it? It's like you said, how many covers are going to have fucking Triple H on? My mind, as soon as I saw this news story, my mind immediately went back to, remember when it was SmackDown versus Raw in 2009, and the big press release sent out to everybody. And I remember PowerSlam noting this as well, that none of the promo images or videos could show Triple H in a losing, weak, or defenseless position. I mean, the fucking ego on this guy. And it's not from that guy in 2009. I think the cover then was him and Shawn Michaels, and obviously he was more in the forefront and Shawn was in the blurry guy in the background. But yeah, the fucking ego on this guy, nothing has changed, does it? But yeah, none of the promo images can show Triple H in a losing, weak, or defenseless position.
That's Vin Diesel, isn't it? Again, links back to Fast and Furious. Yep. Literally written in his contract, can't be losing fights on air. It's all pro wrestling at the end of it. But yeah, as Chris Elliott says here, getting those covers in now before he gets fucked off by Nick.
Getting another payday in, yeah.
I won't be buying the game anyway. And apparently as well, these are all digital versions anyway, so the physical version is just going to be the same if they're for the minimal copies of that they sell these days anyway. But yeah, as Ewan says, you can play as Terrorizer and Jean-Paul Levesque, but Stelmsley, DX Triple H, 2000 Triple H, Evolution Triple H, DX Reunion Triple H, the other DX Reunion Triple H, and then finally Bald Triple H. And he was shite in all of those incarnations except for the year 2000, and I will stand by that.
No, yeah, he was good in 2000, yeah. Well, I'm not going to watch it back. I enjoyed it at the time, but leave the memories alone, I guess, yeah.
Look, if you're one of those people who say he's a key part of the Attitude Era, just watch that clip that's doing the rounds on Twitter this week of Shawn Michaels' best friend stood next to The Rock talking about him being a mid-carder, and it's like, Shawn felt that in his bones, and he knew even in 1999 that Hunter wasn't going to be the guy, but there we go. Shawn will always tell the truth if nothing else. But that's it as far as our final story goes and the news goes. But amazing having you on, Martin, unless there's anything else you wants to mention.
No, nothing else to mention. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Benno. It's been brilliant having a mini reunion. It was great talking to you briefly at Christmas, but this has been a great... Wow, it's been 2 hours. Yeah, I don't feel like it. Could,
Sorry.
No, I could go for another 2 hours. Yeah, I mean, we did a fucking 24-hour podcast together.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, 2 hours is literally just a drop in the ocean. But yeah, fantastic. Obviously, I've said to you guys privately before, fantastic what you guys are doing with Grapple. Just going from strength to strength. I mean, obviously, when blow was dealt to you guys, obviously when Joe decided to step back, and then Gareth stepped up with his brilliant analysis, and then you got Matty in, and obviously JP. Obviously all my best to JP, and AOP's going to come through the other side from this. So can't wait for having him back. But yeah, just a great analysis you guys do, and obviously the everyone loves the the Matty and Benno shows, and little gripes with each other, and obviously JP bringing all his great knowledge and things like that, and then obviously when you have Liam on for time and everything, just great work, and all power to you guys. Always love listening to the shows and being a proud Patreon. So yeah, keep up the good work. Love to see it.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. Learned it all from you. Maybe not the professionalism, so I can't blame you for that. That is all my own doing, but genuinely, been amazing to have you on. And yeah, we love having you on Grapple stuff as well, so we'll hopefully do more in the year. We'll definitely get Liam on more stuff as well when you mention him here as well. He was an MVP last year too, but no, appreciate the kind words, mate.
Well, I mean, one thing I could mention, I'm sure it has already been mentioned. If you're a fan of me, or if not, then I'll be on Grapple again next week. So yeah, do you want
to reveal what you're doing? I still don't understand it. Something Metallica. That's all I know. I don't know.
So basically, last time we did, obviously me, Gareth and Matty are big metal fans, but Gareth's sort of like not as deep into metal as me and Matty. He's more like sort of like your grungy type of stuff. So but we could all agree on Metallica, and obviously there's a really famous documentary, we covered that last year. But then there's also this series by this fantastic Canadian filmmaker who a huge metal fan. I think he'd made a bunch of documentaries, and then he was like, I'm going to make ones about metal. So it's a whole series he made about each genre of metal. Sounds like your worst nightmare, Benno, but it was a fantastic series. So we're going to be kicking it off. We couldn't talk Gareth into doing the new metal one. We were going to do the grunge one, but we thought a nice companion piece to the Metallica one will be talking about the history of thrash, all the stuff coming out of the Bay Area in the 80s.
Nice.
Yeah, great. Looking forward to it. So yeah, I'll be cramming for that next week. Well, what's great about doing those shows, I love doing these ones where I've got to watch a load of stuff, whereas with that is
there you go. No wrestling to watch.
Yeah. It's all the music, all about the music. So yeah, really looking forward to doing that. And I think recording that next Wednesday, and I think out next weekend. So but other than that, no plugs for me. Everyone dump Twitter and join us all on Blue Sky, where it's all fun and nice, all rainbows and unicorns. So
I try. I logged on today for the first time in 3 months to plug this show, but I'll try and log on more. But I was going to do the grapple plugs at the end, but go on.
I think it's good if you find your certain niche, like all the big NFL writers, if you like your American football, have all decided to fuck Twitter off and join Blue Sky. So that's fantastic for like big American football fans like me. But then I think still wrestling. I think John and Wade give it a go on there, and then there's few people like Bix and that. But as far as your wrestling stuff, it's still not quite got the engagement that you would have had on Twitter. But then also, you've also not got all the dodgy shit that's going off on Twitter as well. So there you go. But yeah.
When Twitter got too much for me, mate, you knew it was bad. And I'm pretty much semi-retired from Twitter at this point. So maybe I'll find a new home somewhere else. But like I was going to say, I was going to do the grapple plugs, but Martin's done them for me. So I'll get out of here as well. Do check out that show. Very much looking forward to it. Even if you've got to know your limitations as a podcaster as well. I could offer nothing to that. And I can offer a limited amount of time. I can give you the American stuff, but never the British stuff. But maybe we'll do a rap business at some point with Liam again. And that'd be great. I can contribute there. But first one was very well received. So I'm sure they'll love it. Yeah, there you go. Raw Roulette coming up as well this weekend as well. So check out that for 1993. The Shimmer Show is up on the Patreon feed as well. But yeah, Gareth and Matty will be back for weekend show tomorrow. Thank you, Martin, for joining me once again. And yeah, look forward to those guys tomorrow. And for us, there'll be a spotlight review covering the Royal Rumble next week with me and Matty as well. But on that note, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to our YouTube members and patrons who keep us going and keep the lights on every month. Special thanks to our kings and queens of the mountain, Colin Laughlin, Eddie Sybirds, Chris Platt, Carl Gack, Sophie Hitchcock, Sam Mulvaney, and Marty Ellis. And again, best wishes to Mike Hogan, who I believe's had some good news and is hopefully on his way home as well. So yeah, we love you, mate, and glad you're doing a lot better. But we'll catch you all again on the next one. Good night, all.